Everything starts in the future 10 years after creatures have taken over the Earth. Our protagonist Gang Finn is defending himself from an attack while telling his sister Kinga run away. However, the monster kicks him in the stomach. Immediately it comes to finish him off, but his sister jumps in front of the creature. She takes his steel whip to her back. Yenjin screams and grabs his sister, asking why she did that. At that moment he gains the power of a protagonist who has suffered, and he slashes, cutting off the monster's arm and head. He takes the creature's core and tells his sister that you will get holy water. He then takes her to Yangle Bas No 3. However, as soon as he reaches the gate he sees two people fighting all their strength. The problem is that the female competitor is our protagonist's girlfriend. While she is confused by his sudden appearance, a guy named Cloud says he didn't expect him to survive a level 8 boss. Young Finn screams, asking how he knew it was a level 8 monster. However, his sister starts to agonize. He says they'll talk about it later and demands the holy water immediately, but his girlfriend's opponent asks why he should give something so valuable to his sister. Young Finn says he will make a and offers his ring. Yes, it's true, guys. Offering the ring. He tells the guy that with it he can buy anything he wants. The guy smiles but warns that if he kills him he can take the ring without paying anything. The only sad thing would be letting his pretty little sister die. Yenjin doesn't like this at all. He places his sister against the wall and slashes at Cloud, but the guy just dodges, jumping away. He sends energy into Young Finn's chest and asks if he thinks he can win. While so exhausted, he then goes to put his finger on Yen's ring, but Yenjin says that would only happen in his dreams and eats the ring immediately. The guy smiles, saying now he will have to take it by force. He slashes at him, saying he will cut it out of him halfway. But something seems to activate in the ring and his body radiates a blinding light. Time rewinds and the boy wakes up. As soon as he sees the clock he knows he has 3 hours before everything starts. He pinches his face, wondering if he reincarnated or if he's in a dream. Cloud is actually his girlfriend's name, and this guy was already making moves before the system, and now he wonders if he should kill her now. With Thaner, at least due to the betrayal, he has the chance to change his future, and in this life he swears to protect his family and close friends, and of course those who wronged him will not get off easy. Suddenly someone kicks the door open and the guys ask Cloud how she has the nerve to reject the boss and stay with that loser. They enter the room saying they'll break his legs. Cloud says she's terrified, but Young Finn knows it's all an act. The guy comes to hit him, but he easily dodges. The guy doesn't even react when Yenin grabs his neck and makes him kiss the wall. The chubby guy is confused and Cloud has no idea how this guy got so strong. He turns to the guy and says it's his turn to take a hit to the chin. He starts to leave the room and Cloud says he can't just walk away like that. After all, they did everything possible the night before. However, now he is cold and calculating and says it's good for her not to appear in front of him, otherwise she will die. He grabs his coat and leaves. Meanwhile, she wonders how this bastard had the courage to crush her and disappear. The next day outside he wonders why it's so dark and sees the black seeds. He knows this is a premonition that the eruption is about to begin. Immediately he calls his sister when a past life died from a stab in the back, but now she's perfectly fine and in good health. She answers jokingly, asking if he misses his little sister. However, Ganjen just tells her to close all the curtains. Now he warns her that no matter who rings the doorbell she shouldn't open the door until he arrives. She gets confused and mentions that she is in the dormitory, which is very secure. Meanwhile, she goes to the window and says something strange is happening. It looks like people are attacking each other. The protagonist calls out to her, but the call drops. At least he is reassured that she survived this day in the past life too, and if the ring is glowing it means there is a summoner nearby. The energy seems to get stronger as he approaches a women's restroom. He enters and sees a girl crouching, but she is already turned into a zombie. At that moment she comes towards him. The guy is a bit off because it's the first time. He thinks it's a waste for someone with a body like that to turn into a zombie. However, he doesn't hesitate and strikes her with an axe. He quickly grabs the crystal because he needs to evolve as fast as possible. At that moment a strange man with a cloak appears. These are the merchants, and in the past life it took him 3 months to find the first one. These guys sell items and the rank is related to the color of the cloak, and that crystal he took from the girl can be exchanged for some items in the shop. Just like in the past life, he still gets discounts for having that ring. He decides to check if the weekly function still works using the golden hammer. It appears he realizes is an epic item, but the shop dissolves. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough stones to buy it yet. That's when he hears a scream behind one of the doors. He approaches and sees a zombie going towards two girls. Both are obviously healthy, and the redhead tells her friend to hand over the knife when she tries to say something to the zombie or guy arrives and cuts down another one. The girls are startled and he explains that the woman had already turned into a zombie because she was bitten. With that, the redhead introduces herself as Yu and her friend is named Mumu. Ian thinks it's a coincidence because Mumu becomes a famous biomedical scientist in the apocalypse, and the redhead girl becomes a Trump C for one. The largest bases. Suddenly a monster appears behind him, however Yu throws something at its shoulder. The creature gets back up and Yenfen explains that if you don't remove its head it won't die. With that he gives it a full swing and goes to collect the crystal. Yu thinks he is incredibly strong and seems to be a pervert since he always approaches the bodies. Our guy on made her hand is only thinking about the potential the two have. The base 3 where they stayed was considered indestructible. Suddenly Yu interrupts his thoughts and asks if he is looking for this. He sees she has a crystal and asks where she found it. Her friend points to Mumu and says she was the one messing with the bodies. The poor girl tries to explain that she was just studying them and it's not what he thinks. With that Yu says it would be good if he joined their group. Mumu seems to agree and Yang Fun is interested, since it will make it easier to get his revenge, so he agrees, and the girls tell them to stop staring at them so much and go outside so they can dress. A while later they come out and Yu was prepared for the apocalypse as she already had all the gear. They talk about going to a safe place, but Yenjin says the creatures are everywhere and are evolving. That catches Yu's attention and she asks if they can evolve too. After a while he introduces himself and says he has 3 conditions they have to follow every order. Hand over all the crystals and traitors will die. He plans to put the girls to work in the apocalypse, however they talk among themselves saying he seems very competent, so they agree to these conditions. With that they head to school number 1. It's full of zombies and Yu asks where they are going. Yenin says just to follow him and collect the crystals. With that he heads towards the zombies, and they think it's very risky, however he just raises the axe and cuts the first one in half, dropping the crystal. The artist got carried away because this panel wasn't necessary. She comments that it seems like an accumulation of vitamins and minerals and maybe that's why they became zombies. Yu wonders if they would turn into zombies too by eating it, but if that were the case why is Yang Fin so keen on collecting so many? While they were watching him a zombie approached from behind, however it seems a car ran over it. A guy says that despite the circumstances he found Yu again. His name is Myun and he is a fanatical follower of the girl. The two already wonder why this piece of trash is there. Meanwhile Yenjin is killing zombies, wondering why they are so distracted. These girls seem to be in Disneyland and Yu is saying the guy is the prince of the school. He turns around but Mutian starts talking to him saying that he could be a good bodyguard. That offer reminds Yenjin that in the future he will be out of money and in need of food and weapons. However at that moment Mumu was being attacked by 2 zombies. Yenjin ignores the conversation and kills the 2 zombies, saying they attracted too much attention from a distance. Mutian tells him to come back while our guy has already run off. The guy starts getting angry because even the zombies are running after him and now the trio is surrounded. What Yen finds most frightening is that nearby there is a second-tier flower which is an evolved creature. Mumu asks if even plants are becoming zombies. At that moment the flower's pollen begins to fall on the zombies. Anrin warns that it's a technique it uses to take control of the creatures. He continues killing as many as he can, telling them to follow the path he is clearing. Nomu is about to be attacked when you kick the monster. Our guy is impressed that she's fighting without any weapons. Then the guy approaches with the car, telling you not to fear because he will save her. With that he accelerates and starts running over a bunch of zombies. He reaches the door and Yang tells everyone to get in with him. However as soon as he's inside he shuts the door and they ask what he is doing. Yu tells him to open it but he says she will only get in if she becomes his girlfriend. She responds that he is despicable but he says she is wrong for denying him and being with this poor guy. With that they turn to Yang Fan and ask where they are going. He tells them to run to the back of the cafeteria. With that they start to retreat while he thinks he has to deal with a flower or the number of zombies won't decrease. Passing through the creatures he wonders how it is already at rank 2. Finally he finds an opportunity and strikes it with an axe. The problem is that the plant seems to be as hard as steel. It doesn't make any sense and he wonders if his return to the past created some changes. With another pollen blast from the plant the creatures start to surround him. He manages to hit one in the leg, but another comes from behind. Then the monster Gets a small knife to the forehead. He asks what they are doing there and the girls say they wouldn't abandon him to die like that. He notices a scratch on Yu's arm and asks if she is hurt. She tells him to ignore it and focus on destroying the plant for now. Mumu explains that she wants to use that gas cylinder to set the creature on fire. With that, Yu goes to the front to hold off the zombies. He grabs the cylinder, throws it at the monster, and lights it up. With that, the monster burns and he is grateful. It's a rank 2 creature, however. That's when he notices the creature's death pollen. He warns them to be careful as it will make them fall asleep. A while later, someone is walking among the zombies looking for you. It is Mun, wondering how they defeated all that. He approaches the plant and sees something on the ground. As soon as he touches the petal, something shoots up from the soil, and he spits blood. Meanwhile, Yu is telling our guy that she is feeling a bit dizzy. He explains that she got infected and she tells him to kill her. Then he throws her over his shoulder and tells her to relax. If she turns into a zombie, he will kill her without any hesitation. That's why I call a professional at calming people. While squeezing her gently, he says they need to get back to the women's restroom. He starts running and tells Mumu to follow him. He reaches the place and the vendor is there. He asks Mumu to hand over all the crystals, and they get a bit confused seeing him approach that person. She finds it strange to see someone standing in the middle of nowhere. With that, he activates the trade and disappears in front of them. The two were confused and wonder if they were abandoned. The poor guys is there seeing that purification water already costs 4 coins. That's capitalism's greed for you, but Lucky Ras can use the ring to buy it cheaper. That's right, the oldest profession in the world. After buying everything, he spent 40 crystals and still has 60 left. He takes the item while thinking that in this life he won't be anyone's slave. No one will be able to touch a hair on anyone he cares about. With that, he pours the item into a bottle and thinks that for now he will keep things a secret. The transaction ends and he asks how the girl is. The girl is stretched out and Mumu explains she's about to die. He takes a big gulp and you know what he's going to do. That's right, he will use the strongest muscle in the body to heal the girl. The friend is scared, but at the same time M's hand starts to heal. As soon as she wakes up, she shoots at our guy, thinking he believes this will save anyone. He tries to explain it was the only way when the friend throws herself, thanking him for not letting her die. You concludes that it must have something to do with the hooded guy. Our guy says she's smart and explains that getting close to him allows you to enter a trading area. However, he tells them to hurry as they can't waste time. Once outside, he advises them to take advantage of the fallen zombies to collect the crystals. Then one of the zombies approaches. He realizes it's Muin, however he notices something and tries to protect the two girls. At the same moment, a Tokyo Ghoul style attack comes for you, but our guy is a hero and saves her again. Mumu almost swerves and he warns that the plant has a distance limit. However, the two are startled. She has been immobilized and scared about this. That Goaty Finn cuts it down before the video falls apart. He tells them to be more careful, and she apologizes for being so slow. The plant sends out a an attack and he warns everyone to come to their mouths. However, once again the creature comes from behind. This persist little plant is almost killing him, but he has the legendary ring that instantly purifies impurities, allowing him to cut the plant. Its stones were right on that branch and he collects them. You asks what it is and he says it's a second-degree core that can't be eaten yet. Hearing that, she asks if it's meant to be eaten, and he says yes. However, at the same moment, another little plant emerges from the ground and Mumu warns them to be careful. He approaches and says not to worry, it's an essence with the flower's attributes. You was confused and he says he'll explain later because now they have to get back to the merchant. The rascal is still in a women's restroom. This guy is peculiar. With that, he initiates the trade and buys a gun, a potion and the legendary hammer. The boy is broke again but hands the pistol and some experienced potions to you. She shows up with a rifle and asks if he wants one of those too. He says no. While showing the little hammer, she asks what that is and he activates the item, saying she will see a magic circle appears beneath him, and he says that with this new profession in the ring it will be hard to kill him. However, Yu says he doesn't seem to have changed much, but he just ignores it while grabbing the hammer, thinking that with this new profession, the sky the limit. He uses the transformation on the axe, which changes to a liquid form and in the next instant becomes a sword. He explains that a forger can build any weapon and add an essence. He approaches the one he obtained and a blue aura emanates from the blade. He explains that like the plant, this blade now has the attribute to paralyze enemies. Mumu asks if he could upgrade her scalpel. He grabbed a shower headed for more metal and makes 2 small knives. The two are impressed, saying it defies logic. He tells them to drink quickly and Yu doesn't hesitate in H1 to Mumu. They ask if they will gain abilities and he explains that only physical powers. The scientist already wanted to observe the potions and make her own, but because of the current risk she drinks it quickly. With that they start to glow a little and feel full of energy. He points in a direction saying it's time to go save his sister. Finally, you remember the poor girl, right? A zombie attacks him outside the car, and he accelerates towards it. They arrive at the women's dormitory. In building number 1, a bunch of zombies is following the car and they try to block the stairs using it. They stop there, get out and start running. However, ever in the corridors he feels something is not right. As he approaches his sister's room, the door is open and the window is broken. You squats peculiarly, saying his sister seems to have been hurt there. Our guy thinks that's impossible. Mumu goes to the bunk bed and says there's a phone there. It shows that her sports watch was disconnected 15 minutes ago. He says she can't be far, so they go looking for her. Meanwhile, on the 7th floor, a bunch of burrs are tied up in a room. A guy grabs the protagonist's sister's chin and says this apocalypse is great because now they can play Uno together. She tells him to shut up or will get beaten by her brother, but he tells her to shut up as she screams. He says that's what makes it fun. She thinks she should have listened to her brother and not opened the door for anyone. That's when someone kicks the door. She's overjoyed to see it's her brother, and our guy doesn't look like he came to play Uno either. Before the guy can say anything, he gets slashed in the chest. The guys nearby start saying he's crazy to come alone, but Yenjin just ignores them and tells his sister not to worry. He delivers another Photoshop cut and another guy comes from above but gets a little poke in the forehead. You finishes the last one in 2 seconds. The last fool is alone there. He falls to the ground begging to be forgiven and not killed. You said she feels bad for killing someone. Anon tells her not to worry because these guys deserved it. With that he unties his sister and she comes to hug him, saying she was very scared. The other girls in the room thank him for saving them and say their safety now depends on him. However, the boy is cold. He says he rejects both of them. He points to the side and says he doesn't want to take care of trash in this end of the world, explaining that if they don't fend for themselves they'll end up like those two on the floor. Finally, Mumu Arriv Rod is on the top floor and he says they found his sister, so it's time to go. The poor girls are just envious seeing that our guy will only protect those 3 on the 2nd floor. They observe that the car is surrounded by zombies and our guy says he'll take care of it first. He jumps down, kneeing one and slashing another. He looks up and tells them to come down. It's all taken care of in the next scene. They are approaching some other place. His sister says she's really hungry and he tells them to stop as supermarket. Yu says it's risky, but Mumu comments that they will need as many supplies as possible to survive. With that she agrees and accelerates. They stop in front of the guard and Yang says he'll handle it. He slashes and opens the door and they're inside. Yu finds it strange that there's no one inside and Mumu agrees. All the zombies are at the windows, but none of them are inside. Until King points out there's blood in one area. In one of the corridors there's a giant pool. Mumu warns that it's human blood, so they should be careful. Our protagonist just tells them to go back and gather supplies while he deals with it. As he approaches the glass he sees meat with blood on top. Probably someone cleared the zombies from inside and then attracted them to stay around. Found You says they found 2 backpacks full of supplies. ANR knows that even though the ring can store some items he will need more ways to stock up. That's when he feels something strange on the 2nd floor. Someone is watching the camera, asking if it's her ex-boyfriend. Next to her is Claudia dressed as a bunny, saying he was never her boyfriend and that what happened in the morning was just a joke. However, he explains that he's a strange guy who woke up very strong as soon as this madness began. He grabs her face and asks if she's lying. She says no. He then says she will be mistreated tonight. Claudia looks at the camera, seething with anger at the protagonist. She says the bastard not only found another girlfriend but also abandoned her with this pervert. Wang sees you on the camera and says she's not bad, and Claudia, who is not stupid, says it would be good if they had all 3 girls. Obviously her plan is to be spared. The market guards say they have to deal with this because it's their supplies. Jin realizes there's a camera and tells everyone the rest as he needs to gather some things. He approaches Yu and warns her that they are being watched, so they should be careful. He whispers a plan to her. A while later he's walking around since all these items will become extremely expensive and he'll need to store a lot. The problem is that currently the ring only has a capacity of 10 square m. He picks up a bottle from the ground and throws it at the camera without anyone seeing. He pulls a lot of supplies into the ring. At that moment a MIF comes flying and someone tells him to stop stealing, but our guy dodges and asks what this stealing business is about. Looking back, he recognizes Wang Weilong, a bastard who made his life hell before the apocalypse. The guy doesn't hesitate and tells his friends to break the protagonist's legs, however he elbows each one in the chin and they both pass out. The other guards are confused about how this young guy is so strong. Wang says he sent people to capture the girls, and if he resists they will all die, but someone behind asks what he's talking about. It's you, saying he sent a bunch of trash. The guy is confused that the girl took down his friends with thought. He throws himself at Ji's feet, saying he was commanded by a guy named Xia Yun. However, at the same moment he grabs a band from his back and tries to take a swing at him. As soon as it touches Yang's hand, he activates his reforging ability, transforming the baton into a blade. The guy is on the ground, asking what kind of magic this is. At the same moment, the other workers start running. He was impressed by the ability. Our guy asks if he was really trying to kill him. The guy apologizes and says it was the other guy's idea, but our guy just says he'll let him go, then straight to hell as the poor guy drops dead. You wonders when she'll have such a magic. He finds the guys who ran away in a peculiar position, at least begging to be saved. You says they were being commanded so they could let them go. Our guy tells them to roll out of that place, and the guys literally do that. I think they his word seriously with. He questions how long she'll just listen. Cloud, now called Xiao Yanhong, runs to another room and says she'll take him with her even if she dies. She activates the motion sensor and the doors open. Our guy knows it was her doing. He tells you to go up and turn off the sensors while he holds off the zombies. His sister and Mumu come running, and our guy throws himself in front. The poor girl, trembling, tries to protect Kingu, saying she doesn't need to worry. You approaches the control room. As she goes to open the door, Xia Yan tries to hit her with a bitten, but she dodges. She puts him in a choke hold and soon after he's tied up on the floor. Wow, Kuda is for the bandaging while she curses you, tells her to shut up because she's closing it. The problem is so many zombies are passing through the door that she can't close it. Yang Fang tells her not to worry, that he's still there handling everything. A while later they come down and Xian tells our guy that she's getting beaten by Yu and he needs to save her. Yu says it doesn't make sense, but Xian explains that she only opened the door to help them deal with the other guys. With that, our guy grabs her face and asks if she really wants to help. She brings out the heavy artillery and says she loves him too much. Our guy then says he'll give her a chance to prove her love and throws her out. Tied up with that, she gets bitten, and that's it. She's writhing on the other side of the door. King Sh feels relieved that she died and Yu asks if that girl was really his ex-girlfriend. He just says yes, and she says they can sleep there tonight and rest since there are bathrooms and places to change. They take a shower, and Mumu, after taking the level 1 potion, doesn't even need glasses anymore. Meanwhile, our guy doesn't stop and is in the market collecting everything. The next morning 3 guys approach the door, but as soon as they enter there's nothing there. They wonder how it's possible for everything to have disappeared. One of them sees there's a second floor and tells everyone they have to go up there. The guys say it's risky, but the strong guy tells everyone to go first. When he opens the door, a blade comes at his face. It's our guy, and the chubby one begs not to be killed because they aren't zombies. Seeing young friends quick slash the ones behind don't want to do anything. Suddenly Yu opens the door and asks who they are. The guys beg to be saved, saying they just wanted something to eat. Our guy just lowers the blade and tells them to disappear because there's nothing there. However, the guy points to you and says he's sure there's food in the backpack. He makes a villain his face stay. There's enough there to keep them alive. A knife flies past the heads of the 2 and she warns they will die before taking anything. The guy realizes that if an hit his head he'd be dead. The guy in the green jack apologizes, saying they're leaving. The strong guy asks if they're really going to do that, and his friend says to just follow them and set an ambush. The chubby one says he's not in the group with those guys and all he wants is some cat food. He even knows of a base with protection. When you starts to say something passes behind her. It climbs on the chubby guy's shoulder, who says not to do anything. It's a kitten eating. He explains he came to the supermarket to see if he could get some canned food for her. Yu tells him to get it from downstairs, but he explains there's nothing left there. Dan says he heard some sounds at night and someone must have stolen everything. Suddenly Kingu appears, saying the kitten is very cute. She asks to hug it, but Ian explains that the creature is mutated. The chubby guy angrily says his pet hasn't turned into a monster. Kingu insists, saying she wants to touch it. He says no, but she ignores him and picks it up. She says they are now sisters and that she'll even share some food. A while later the chubby guy asks if they won't come with him to the military base and they say no. King sure is sad and waves goodbye to the kitten. At that moment someone approaches. It's the guys from before, brimming a bunch of zombie dogs. They approach apologizing but saying they are scared. However they exchange glances signaling to start the plan. One of them grabs Kingu and another goes to attack you. As soon as the blade touches her, Yenjin grabs his arm and warns him that he knew their intentions. Breaking the man's hand, he agonizes, begging to be released. Meanwhile the other three are fighting over the resources. Seeing no way out, he warns about the zombie dogs. As the chubby guy gets distracted, he snatches the backpack and escapes on the motorcycle. Looking back, Yenjin sees the dogs coming and Kinger tells him to be careful. In that moment our guy grabs the other by the arm and throws him to the beasts. He tells everyone to take advantage of the distraction and run to the car. You ask Mumu to hold the backpack and Yenjin tells her that beasts aren't that strong. With that his sister arrives with the car and tells everyone to get in. As they were running, Yenjin looks back and sees a mutated level 2 dog. He tells them to go ahead while they insist he gets in. However he says not to get in the way and defends against the dog's attack. In the car Yu says they need to go back to help, but Mumu explains it's better to trust Yang Fin. Meanwhile our guy defends against the attacks and is almost on the ground about to be devoured. However he seems confident and tells the dog he needs to teach it a lesson. A swing in the blade to the side decapitates it. With that he collects another white core, but a legion of devil dogs is approaching. The car stops and Yu tells him to get in. She grabs his hand and strangely this girl seems to have some problem that got completely healed, and she pulls him into the adventure. This one is a professional player. They speed up the car and our guy tells the chubby one to flee quickly, but looking back Inner notices that the wound isn't doing well. He seems to be losing consciousness from blood loss but tries to pretend everything is fine, saying she'll be better soon. Our guy takes a look, says the cut is too deep and now knows they need to find a vendor. He tells Mumu to stop the bleeding and instructs the chubby gag ahead towards a pharmacy. He explains that there's nothing in the pharmacy and says he can take them to a base with doctors. Our guy agrees and they head in that direction. A while later they arrive at the base of a giant building. He remembers being saved there in the past life too. The only problem is that the doctors there were killed because they saved people for free. With that the girls help you and the chubby guy tells everyone to follow him. He runs to the guards and asks for help, saying they have someone injured, but the front guards say no infected person can enter. Yu shows the wound, saying it was a stab not a bite. However the guards own seem be care, saying if they say no, no one enters. Actually each one there will have to pay 100 crystals and she will have to pay at least 1,000. Yang says it doesn't matter and shows that he has much more than that and even a crystal worth a lot. The guys are startled by the amount and with that they say they could enter then. However they whisper to each other that as soon as Ian turns his back they'll finish him off. But our guy notices the reflection of a blade on the wall and asks if they're planning to kill him before they can respond. He warns they don't have the skill. While delivering a slash the first one goes down and his friend is terrified. He tries to attack our guy but gets hit in the back. Yu says it serves him right, but she feels pain and Yenjin tells her to be careful. His sister takes Yang Fin's crystals and shows that besides those they only had 4. Now the chubby guy is scared, thinking he's joined a group of killers and needs to flee. Then someone from the second floor calls out to them, clapping his hands. He approaches and asks the boy's name. Our protagonist introduces himself and the guy says he was the owner of a security business. He's the owner of that base and offers Yenjin an opportunity to work for him. The protagonist responds that it's a good offer, but for now the priority is to treat his friend. With that the guy orders a bald guard to take them to a doctor. As he watches them go he thinks Yenjin has a lot of potential. They arrive in front of a shop and find it strange that it's the hospital. However Yenjin enters and says they need a doctor. A guy with glasses says it's him and tells them to bring the patient. Yanin notices that it's not the doctor he expected to be there. After examining the wound the guy says a blood transfusion and a tetanus shot will cost 5,000 crystals. The chubby guy says that's a ridiculous price and pure greed, but the doctor says he's just doing business and tells them to go hunt zombies. Then someone behind the curtain says that if he won't treat her she will. Our guy is startled. Obviously it's a doctor who saves some lives and ends others. As she goes to examine you the other doctor shouts that she can't waste the resources there like that, but she responds that the ethics of the profession do not allow her to let a patient die. The other guy tells her to shut up and says he owns the place and moves to slap her, but someone grabs his hand. It's On who says if he wants to keep that hand intact he better stop the guy with TRS, saying he'll talk to General Leopard and he'll sort this out. The doctor then tells him to leave the room, because she needs to treat the girl. The psychopathic wife Finn suddenly asked to the doctor's boyfriend. He's thinking that she saved him so many times in the past life that he wants to help her as much as possible, but his friends are confused and the chubby guy wonders how many women this guy needs. She's a bit confused and says she doesn't even know him well, while wondering why this Lytic suddenly came to confess like that. He says they can get to know each other side by side, and she calls him shameless. Meanwhile you was lying down, getting a bit annoyed. The doctor then kicks him out of the room, saying she needs to treat the girl. A while later she tells them to come in as you is better. Everyone goes to talk to you, who says she's feeling a bit better, but then someone nearby says they are the ones who don't want to pay crystals. General Leopard arrives with a group and says medical resources are scarce so they have to pay the crystals. Yang Fun says he wants to pay, but 5,000 for a cut is too much, or are they creating this gang to extort people? One of the henchmen points that the protagonist and asks if he wants to die. However, our guy activates his ability and like Woody Woodpecker redirects the guy's weapon. Leopard says the boy has skills and would even consider letting this treatment be free if he joined them, but he warns that if he doesn't comply then he will have to be punished. Hal has the fire ability, and the guy on the left has the earth ability, and at the same moment they send two attacks toward the group. Our guy stretches out his hand to save Lin Mio, already pulling her from the attacks and throwing her over his shoulder. He's worried about almost letting her die, while she thinks that it's clear he has abilities, knowing that the guy group might have even more abilities. He says he'll join them, but they have to leave the doctor alone. The guy asks how he's going to use his ability to do that, and Yenjin is sure he'll make great use of the craftsman class. He explains that he can make items from the shop 80% cheaper as long as he has the materials. Leopard says it's a great deal but warns him to fulfill his part. He then orders someone to prepare the accommodations. Meanwhile Mumu questions if they are really going to stay among these bad people. Our guy explains that he's just taking advantage of the situation for you to recover and to get more resources. In one of the rooms the boss comments that the plan is to steal part of his team and force him to make weapons for the rest of his life. The girl seems all motivated, saying the boss always plans very well. As they were being taken to their accommodations, a guy blocked Yang Fun and said he would take him to make weapons. Our guy just thought it was a pity he have to advance the plan like this. His sister wanted to go along but the guy refused. Engen told her it was fine and to rest. They entered a vault, and the guy showed him more than 5,000 low-level stones. He warned that if he couldn't make the weapons everyone would be thrown to the zombies. Seeing so many crystals, J. Finn knew these guys had a lot of armament. He also pointed to a pile of materials, explaining that they've been storing them because they didn't know their use. However, our guy saw this as a perfect chance to make equipment for his team. He explained to the guy that he doesn't like people watching him forge, so he should leave. The guy warned him not to try to escape because the place was like a sealed box with no way out. Seeing the items, our guy thought they were really idiots for not knowing the value of those things. He even found a spatial stone that serves to create storage spaces. He gathered some of the materials and began producing various items. A while later he produced the best items but was exhausted. He decided to keep those to avoid drawing attention, and also a few of the guy's stones outside. They were questioning if he can really turn trash into weapons. Another guy explained that he has a rare ability and is now a new employee. Not to mention he also brought many beautiful women to the base. Yenjin then left the room, warning that anyone who touched his companions would die. The guys explained that they would check the weapons, and if they were bad he wouldn't see the sun tomorrow. When they got there they saw several first-order blades and were impressed. It cost a total of a lot of trash and 3,600 stones instead of 6,000. NFR explained that at his current level he could only make 10 weapons a day. The guy slashed the wood and was impressed, thinking that if this is the case they can't lose. The Poigfer then said that now that he had delivered the weapons he wanted to see his companions. The guy said fine and told a guy with glasses to take him there. The only thing he found strange was that he didn't receive any expensive agent to install in these weapons. With that the guy opened the door, and when he entered the girls seemed to be very at home. They felt embarrassed, asking why he didn't knock on the door. He just ignored it and threw a bunch of stuff on the table saying he made equipment for them. His sister was impressed that he pulled out all those items from that collar. She immediately grabbed it from his hand and shook it to see if more things would fall out. He explained it was a secret storage and that she could keep it. He also gave a second-order Desert Eagle and glasses to Mumu. Yu was impressed, because it was an infinite ammo weapon and Mumu's item could analyze any other item. Tsun enters the room and Yenjin throws a shield to the boy saying it will help defend against the zombies. He also throws a vest to the doctor saying it will protect against mutants. She looks surprised and thanks him. Meanwhile, someone took the weapons Yongfen produced to Leopard for inspection. He tests them on the table and is impressed, saying the weapon is as good as the one he uses. Then the subordinate asks if it's time to take his women hostage. The boss says not yet, as they still have him in their grasp. They must remember that once the bullets run out, these MLE weapons will be the best thing in this place, and there's nothing better than having a fool like Yenjin to keep making everything. Our guy sees them leaving for the collection and knows they like what he produced. This means we'll receive even more materials. When the revolution starts, he'll already have a Megazord team. Someone knocks on the door saying there are people there. He opens it and Lin Mu explains that Leopard's girlfriend is there to talk to him. He goes to the room and she introduces herself, saying the materials for today are ready for him to make a good weapon. However, he replies that he'll do it in the afternoon because he's still recovering. Our guy likes to see that Leopard seems very ambitious, but Homie says not to be so direct and that she can go to his room to help him produce. However, he grabs her by the arm saying he has more things to do. The girl insists, asking what it is and saying she can go along. He asks if in such a big base there are any negotiators. She says yes, but to use them you have to pay 3,000 crystals. Our guy thinks it's a ripoff but has no choice and asks to go take a look. She takes him to the door and the guys that are all heavily armed. Homie asks to enter, and he sees a rank 2 negotiator. He knows there's good stuff in hands over the 3,000 to use it. The guy explains he has 5 minutes, so he better hurry. He opens the transaction and starts observing everything available. He notices that almost all the evolution and ability items have been bought. However, it is a type of challenge that has been attempted twice. Hall trades have this system where you can enter a test and if you win you get the item. Knowing he doesn't have much time, he activates it immediately and finds himself in a closed room. At least time passes slower there, so he has about 50 minutes. At the same moment, a metal paw steps on the ground and he finds himself facing a mechanical bear. He doesn't flinch and just draws his blade, charging forward. The monster strikes his sword and he realizes it's a third-order creature. The poor guy is thrown far, realizing the monster is faster, stronger and bigger. However, he knows that if an 8th level creature has a weakness, this one must have one too. When the monster comes to swipe at him, he puts the blade along with his arm and ends up cutting it. He tried to activate the paralysis effect, but it's still too weak. However, that pause the creature had was enough for him to jump and deliver a slash to its neck. With that, the bear falls defeated to the ground. Then someone says this kid is very interesting. He finds it strange, and with that his forging skill rises to level 2. Someone was talking about searching him when he comes out of the bathroom, saying the 5 minutes hadn't passed, but the guys surround him and say they have to search him. Yongfen says he has the right to 5 minutes and got authorization from Liard. However, the guy explains that it's forbidden to buy weapons, so he'll have to hand over everything he got. Homie says it's best for him to comply or he'll suffer the consequences. Our guy didn't like that and says he didn't trade anything because he didn't find the medicine he wanted. The soldier says everyone tells that lie, and Yenjin asks what happens if they don't find anything. The guy says he might even die because it doesn't make sense for him to be there for 5 minutes and not get any. Our guy spreads his arms and tells them to search, but to remember what he said. The guy orders everyone to start looking. A while later they tell the general they really didn't find anything. Out of nowhere the guy gets startled. He grabs from the hand and hits him on the forehead. With that he's on the ground and Yongfen says the price is paid. He looks at Homie and asks if she wants to take a look too. Poor girl, trembling, says she's quite fine. Our guy warns that if she threatens him again she'll be killed, and the crazy girl says that seeing such a brave guy makes her want to go to the gym and do squats. That's it. He ignores it and tries to leave, but she grabs him and says it's time to forge weapons again. He pulls his arm away and says he has no interest in someone else's woman. The crazy girl didn't like being rejected and says soon she'll make him her slave. In the room Lin Mio comments that S wound is already getting better. They believe it's Because of the evolution of bodies in this world, in a living room they are worried about the protagonist's safety, but Mumu says the biggest risk is probably them being there trapped. The chumby guy says one of the problems is that he's starving because they're not getting much food. At that moment Yenjin appears and tells everyone not to worry. They get excited and he throws a bunch of stuff for them to eat. With that they finally relax, and our guy tells them not to open the door because he has things to resolve today. In the room he knows there are levels 1 to N to become a forger, and the only person who reached the maximum level in the past life built a base so impenetrable that no one could even break the walls, and that's the level he wants to reach in this life too. The good thing about level 2 is that you can receive special effects without adding crystals, and when you do add the effect it gets even better. In that pile of junk he found a level 2 crystal that he decided to keep. However, now is the perfect time, so he fuses it with the blade. He finds it strange that doesn't seem to be glowing with a special effect, but when he makes it cut it creates a barrage of fire. He realizes he's created something worth at least thousands of crystals. In the next room Leard is commenting that today's weapons are very good, but the guy next to him questions if he really will give an evolution to once the boy makes 100 of them. Leopard says of course not, as soon as the boy makes 99 he'll say they're all trash. 7 days later he delivers another batch of WES. As always he takes the best resources, produces good things and hands the trash to the guys. He goes to the usual bathroom and now everyone greets him. Obviously they still ask for payment and he gives it to avoid trouble. With that he goes to the vendor and opens the trade. He activates the ring's weekly item function hoping not to be disappointed. What appears is a staff that unlocks the sage profession. He gets excited because many people would kill just have something like this, and now he needs to convince a certain person because her using it would be perfect, and maybe it's time to collect some next. As he leaves the bathroom Homie says he's making her feel ugly, and at the same moment someone knocks on the room door. When they open it it's the henchman from before saying the girls now have to go with them. Kinger tries to run, but the guy orders everyone to be captured. They hide behind Yuan, who with her level 2 gun warns that their heads will explode. Their boss says his skin is steel and she'll embarrass herself if she does anything. She ignores him and shoots him in the arm. Immediately he sees that his skin was penetrated. He gets angry saying it looks like she's hiding something. Second grade. He jumps at her and manages to disarm her with a slap. At the same moment he grabs her by the neck and the others move toward the rest of the team. Mumu tries to use the glasses to find a weakness and help, but one of them grabs Lin Mu's wrist. Heli steps in to help but sees everyone as immobilized before he can do anything. Kingu is also caught. Now it's just him and the angry kitten. He orders her to attack the guy and she slashes his face, but at that moment the boss orders everyone to stop or the heads of the 2 girls will be blown up. Mumu and San realize they have no choice, and with that they too are immobilized. The only one left free is the kitten, but the guy decides to kill her if the second-tier weapon. He says he will have to test it. Meanwhile Ian asks Hami what she means. She explains that his people have been captured. He asks who is doing this. She says it was Leopard's people but insists she is not involved. As our guy tries to leave she tells him not to rush because he will end up dying alone. She says she can help him if he hands over the item he received from Leopard. Our guy ignores her again and tells her to get lost. Now Hami is getting even angrier with him. He goes through the corridors and sees a lot of people apparently hunting for him. Realizing that Homie didn't lie and his people are in danger. The detail is that he was also imprisoned in this base, so he knows where people are taken. Now it's time to repay all these favors. In one of the cells a bunch of guards are standing at the door. One of them is distracted and Yenjin is right behind him. He pulls out the light armor and says it's time to use it. He activates the item that equips on his chest. Meanwhile the team is being thrown into one of the cells. Yu comments that they can't just sit around doing nothing, and Mumu says that with her glasses it's easy to analyze the rope so it can be cut, but as soon as they start cutting the guys seem to notice something. They open the door and kick, telling them not to think of doing such things. Yu takes advantage and trips the guy, telling him not to hit women, and Senan's kitten had already freed itself and freed him. With that he mounts a peculiar guy. The problem is that they already have a gun pointed at the boy's forehead, and as a bonus he gets slapped in the face. The kitten came running to help and started mewing. The guy immediately pulled the trigger and said he would kill her. He fired and a chubby guy threw himself in front. The guy said that that was the case he'd send him to heaven first, but at that moment something came flying and a boot at the guy in the face. He asu and attacked him from the door. Reen Finn with his flaming blade said it was him already, warning that they seem eager to die. The guy surrounded him and told everyone to shoot, shouting that he should run, but this boy is in the Matrix. He pulled out his blades and cut the bullets in the air. His sword was creating a sort of gravitational field where no bullets could enter. The chumby guys seemed to be recording. Young Finn pulled the sword and slashed the first two. The girls were impressed, until one threatened to kill his sister, but Lind O came from behind and tripped him. She's crazy with that. His sister ran to our guy and the man pointed at him. Of course he disconnected the guy's arm and Photoshop. Our guy said goodbye and the man was killed. He then shouted to everyone that they were going to escape the base now, but someone asked what he was talking about. It was Mr. Leard with his entire team, saying it wouldn't be that easy. He asked why Yenjin did something like this when he had been treated so well. The chubby guy stepped in front, activating his shield, saying he wouldn't let anything happen, but Leopard said he'd make the boy his third in command if stopped this foolish resistance. Our guy said it was a great auction since he only had a bunch of women by his side. You told him not to worry about her since he saved her. Meanwhile the chumpy guy admitted he lied about having been to this base before. Even Lino said it was better for him to run since she was from this base. However, Yenjin said the offer was good, but he wasn't very interested. Mumu pointed out a weak spot on the wall and he broke it immediately. With that the kid started to escape by climbing the rubble. Lert ordered them to shoot, but Sidon stepped in front with a shield defending everyone. However, one of the awakened ones jumped, asking if that move could be blocked. San realized he was going to die, but Yenjin slashed midair. The guy managed to dodge and activated an earth magic in his direction. Our guy dodged to the side, activating the blade and moving forward. The slash hit the neck and even with tough skin it left a cut. The guy asked how it was possible to break his petrification, but Yenjin just jumped, saying he would die without knowing and slash him. The girls kept urging them to escape and Leopard ordered his men to finish them off. The chubby guy stepped in front, but our guy told him to run while he protected them. The girls started pulling San, and the guys even launched a bazooka shot. The problem was it hit the ceiling, closing the exit. Anger took advantage of this to slip through and jump to the other side. With that his sister celebrated and he returned the weapon to you, telling her to be more careful. She got emotional seeing that he hadn't forgotten her, but then an explosion came from where they had come from. The captain actually transformed into Leopard, saying they wouldn't leave today. You fired a few bullets, but the guy was too fast and easily dodged. A second later he was almost in front of you, but Yang stepped in to defend and block the first attack. He warned everyone to flee because no one stood a chance against him. The group had to retreat due to the horde of zombies. Leopard let out a roar, cutting everything around. Gon had to run to the group to activate the shield and defend against the attack. Realizing that the guy had consumed too many resources, Mumu ran towards a car, telling them to follow, and the other girls went too, while Lampert activates a technique in his paw and warns that now he will tear off Yang Fan's leg. He prepares and jumps towards the boy who was calmly waiting for him to arrive. The guy says trash and thinks he's going to win with that rank 1 weapon. However, Yenjin slashes at his hand, forcing the guy to defend himself, but all of his claws are cut off and our guy smiles, saying he made this with the materials that the guy himself gave him. Leopard says it's impossible because he can only make rank 1 items. That's when Yang Fin reveals that for a base chief the guy is very naive. Leopard hesitates for a second when he sees that Yang Fin has a second rank weapon and decides to wait for him, but in the meantime the girls approach with a car and gets in to flee. However, the chief concludes that if the boy could really defeat him he would have come at him, and with that he starts running after the car, saying he knows he was bluffing. Yu tries to shoot, but he easily dodges. Yuren tells them to head to the part of the city with more zombies, while Leard is right next to the car keeping up. They start passing through the horde of zombies. The car can easily ignore them, but Leard has to deal with a few. King Zur celebrates that he's falling behind, but the guy with a roar cuts everything in half. He explodes the area and resumes chasing the car. The crew doesn't understand why they can't escape and tells Mumu to speed up, but then she warns that there's something ahead of them. There was a giant zombie and Yang and warned there was a third class one. Our guy immediately told them to stop the car and warned that third class is much more dangerous than Leopard himself. The monster jumped towards the car and Leopard came right behind, but the third class monster sensed that Leopard was more dangerous and went after him. The base leader got furious while a Yenjin told them to speed up the car. They left the two fighting and headed in another direction. Mumu found it strange that the creature didn't attack them, and he explained it was because Leopard was more dangerous. The doctor then asked ere they were going. Our guy said to head to Hosen City. He noticed a strange expression on Yu's face and asked what was wrong. She said it was nothing, but Mumu said that Yu's relatives lived in Jigawa City, so she probably wanted to go there. Ungfa knew very well that this city was one of the most chaotic during the apocalypse, but it was also one of the places with the highest number of supernatural creatures, and most importantly the person he wants revenge on is near there, so he told them to head in that direction. And you thanked him. Our guy strokes his sister's hair, explaining that their relatives are fine, as he already called them. He knows they'll survive for at least 6 months, just like in the past life. Meanwhile, he was thinking that he changed the route and handed over a weapon. On the other hand, he asked to be the doctor's boyfriend. Looking at herself, she says it's not so bad, she can compete. Then he says he forgot something. He pulls out a class card to give to Lin Mio, saying it's perfect for her. You knows that a class card is very valuable, having seen him use one. Our guy touches her forehead, saying that a new world is about to open up. Her eyes shine, and she explains that she received a class called Sage. The chubby guy asks if the girl went crazy with the card. Our guy says no, cuts his hand, shows it to her, and with an ability the wound heals instantly. She feels confident, and everyone is excited that they no longer need to fear getting hurt. Lino then asks why she's feeling so tired. Our guy explains that it's the cost of the ability. Lino says if it makes her that tired it's better to use medicine. However, Yen explains that at higher levels she can regenerate an entire organ in a second. Lindia was all excited. Meanwhile, Yu is feeling envious and thinking she will have to gather a lot to buy one of those, but then our guy suddenly says he has an idea and tells them to stop the car. He says it's a good idea to go back to Leopard's base and steal everything while he's distracted with the monster. His sister says it's very dangerous, but he says that without the guy there it will be very easy. Yu says she'll go too, but Mumu says she's too weak for that. The poor girl is left desolate, and in the next second our guy is out of the car and heading towards the base. He easily defeats the zombies and goes back through the same place they left. Some guards are still there, but he quickly takes them down. He goes to the ruin where the guys hid the stone resources and starts collecting everything, and the most important thing, the 2 tubes of first order healing potions. As he collects everything, he's impressed that an ordinary guy managed to get so much. It looks like he'll have to evolve even faster if he wants to protect everyone. He uses the forge and creates a new type of bullet that can ignore physics. Then Lean appears, asking what he's doing there again. Clearly he's in bad shape with a hole in his arm. Our guy says he came back too fast. His second ranking is really impressive. The guy transforms again, demanding he return everything. However, Yang Fin says the perfect time to kill an enemy is when they're injured. The guy takes a swipe and he dodges. He tries another attack and Yang Fin blocks it with his blade. Lampard realizes that with his claws damaged like that he might not have a chance. Suddenly he starts to flee, saying that next time Yang Fin will die, but Yang Fin says it's too late now. He strikes him in the back and then pierces him with that. He's dead on the ground, and our guy says that's one less problem. A secondary evolution potion falls from his pocket. He drinks it immediately, saying that now it makes sense why he didn't find anything like that in the vaults. The boy is explosive now, jumping 3m high. Zombies are now like paper to him. Outside he finds a motorcycle and after while arrives in the city. However, on the way the ring reacted, so there was probably a vendor nearby. He went to the location he arranged with the girls and found the car. He followed the tracks until he saw a group gathered around something. Strangely, there were a lot of people immobilizing Sin, and he saw that they were normal people, not zombies, but if they were going to do that to a friend he couldn't forgive them. However, when he was about to attack, Satan said the guys were good people, and the guys explained they were forced to do it by the village chief and a kind of tree magic. Yenjin was confused, freed Sin in and asked where his sister was. Immediately the chubby guy started running, saying they'd explained later and first needed to save the girls in the mayor's house. On the way Yanger asked what happened. Sedan explained that they were driving when a little girl fell in the hood. He stopped to help her, and she clung to his leg, saying her father was dying and needed help. You said it was dangerous, but Lin Mio explained that she could heal him quickly and they could continue their journey. However, the little girl wasn't very friendly and thought the trap had worked. They approached a pink tree, and from a distance a guy commented that the girl was getting very clever. They approached a wooden house and she explained that her father was there. You looked around and found it strange that there were no zombies. The girl went inside and talked to her father, who was Coughing at that moment, Lin Mu went and used her ability to heal him. Apparently the guy was really sick because he realized they weren't ordinary people. He got up and said it was amazing that she was really a doctor. King Shu patted the girl saying her father was now fine. Meanwhile Lin Mio was now exhausted. They were about to leave when the father told them to wait. Some guys kicked the door open asking who the new people in the village were. The father said they could rob other people, but should let these ones go. However, the guys ignored him and said they were going to collect all these girls. The father stood up and approached the chief telling him not to do that, but got slapped in the face. You pointed her weapon and warned that anyone who moved would die. However, obviously one of them came up behind Kingu and took her hostage. With that he ordered everyone to drop their weapons, and now they had no choice. The mayor ordered all the women to be taken to his house and the chubby guy to be tied to the pillar. The father begged them not to do it, but he got kicked again. He ordered his daughter be tied up and warned that if he didn't kill the chubby guy on the pillar his daughter would die. Meanwhile Yang Fin and the chubby guy were running in that direction. They were a bit confused about the path until a guy in a black shirt appeared and said he'd take them to the place. It was the father of the girl who needed help, and he said they were near the sacred tree. It was over 200 years old and had been protected by the village for generations. However, when the apocalypse started, the tree gained powers and killed villagers, but just when it was about to kill the chief it stopped his second before. Since then everyone has been worshipping him thinking he has control over it. Yanga knew that trees couldn't be controlled like that unless the guy had an elf mutation. With that they approached the house. Yang Fin arrived with a kick. The guy had immobilized everyone and was about to do something to you, but that's when Yen Fin showed up. The chief asked where the guards were and our guys said they were all dead. He jumped towards the guy and told him to get his hands off his woman. He freed the others while Yu was emotional that he called her his. The guy said to wait, that he had an offer to make. Yen Jin asked why he was deceived, leaving everyone while the guy was preparing to kill him. The guy tried to react with a weapon, but in half a second our guy cut off his arm. The girl's father begged him not to kill the chief. However, Ian explained that this guy wasn't the chosen one in the tree, but at that moment another girl was taken hostage. Now the guy's daughter was being threatened. The chief smiled saying the game had turned while the father begged Yang Fin not to do anything to the guy on the ground. The other one was threatening his daughter. Do you remember that the last chapter ended right when Yang Fan said he was going to kill the guy on the ground? The other one who was behind the girl in said that if he did that he would kill her. However, blood splatter in his. Yang Fan mercilessly struck the neck. With that the guy retaliated and hit the girl. The father ran desperately shouting for his daughter. With her in his arms she turned to the doctor and asked her to save her. Yang Fan then turned to the guy and said that his daughter's life was now in his hands, and that he should call everyone from the village immediately. He ran off. While the doctor tended to the little girl, Yang Fan looked at the guy whose arm he had cut and told him to stop pretending to be dead. Immediately the guy got up saying he was a good man and didn't deserve this. However, another person came from behind and kicked him, telling them to go to the tree. When they got there it was exuding a giant aura. In front of it was one of the merchants. Our boy was impressed because the merchant's cape definitely indicated good items. Mumu explained that it was an alien tree that science has difficulty explaining, and Kingu commented that there was someone underneath, but it didn't seem to be attacked. The villagers then started blaming the person under the tree. However, Ji Fan knew they were just doing that to shift the blame from themselves. At this point you explained to the protagonist's sister that the guy was just there for you to trade some crystals for items. At that moment the girl's father arrived with the rest of the villagers. They saw that the tree was emitting an active aura and started saying they should run because it would kill everyone. Before Yang Fan could say anything they were already running back. The guy whose army Fan had cut was thinking he could use the tree to kill the boy and threatened Yang Fan, saying that if he didn't run away you would kill him in 10 seconds. However, Yang Fan ignored him, punched him in the back and told him to show how it's done. Then the other villagers were scared of our boy pushing the chief towards the tree. He approached and something came towards him this time. However, it was the boy who was attacked by it. The villagers started questioning if that guy was controlling the tree. Yang Fan opened his arms and declared that from now on he was the only one who could control the tree. The villagers, uncertain, asked if he was sure about that. He approached, but the girl's father told him to wait because it was too dangerous. But Yang Fan had a plan and was already opening a bottle. While activating the ring, he knew the tree was dominated by a black seed and all he needed to do was purify it. You wanted to help, but Mumu said it was too risky and they should trust Yongfan. The best the two could do was stay back and give some support. The tree attacked, but Yongfan jumped and easily dodged it. He moved forward with his aura activated on the blade and made a direct cut on the energy branch. However, there were many branches, and one found an opening on his back. The guy hit the boy hard. Worst of all, Yongfan realized that the level 2 sword wasn't cutting. Once again an attack came head-on, and just like before he noticed another attack from behind, but something interfered and changed the tree's attack direction. It was Dear You messing around with a gun. However, something startled her. Yongfan was being attacked from 5 sides, but the boy was motivated and dodged everything. With a jump he grabbed the purified water and threw it toward the trunk. As soon as the water hit, it seemed to be absorbed and strange smoke began to come out of the tree. The entire tree started shaking. While Yongfan watched, this boy thought he was in a video game and went to the vendor to buy what he needed. He didn't know if the water would purify, so he was at least going to take advantage of the situation. Something fell to the ground. Apparently the tree broke and they seemed confident he had won. Looking at that, Mumu thought the tree was finally not suffering anymore. The villagers said he knew how to control it, but asked where he had gone. Our boy as always was in his flashy shop, and the best part was that since no one could get close to that vendor, the best items were all available. Of course it was very expensive, but he had taken a lot of money from the leopard. Since that guy robbed everyone, he spent almost 42,000 crystals, but at least he bought a lot of good stuff. As soon as he returned, he drank an item and said it was time to finish off this strange tree god. The tree was still there. What had fallen were some branches. Yongfan seemed to notice something before he could act. The villagers suddenly knelt, saying he was the god of that place. Nu explained that since he calmed the branches, people thought he really was some kind of god. At that moment his brother came running and asked how he dealt with that weird guy. Our boy ignores everyone and just grabs some evolution agents and tells them to consume them. He hands one to you, saying it's a second-class agent, so it will help her body become much stronger since she received a higher level one. She's blushing now, wondering if he really likes her that much. She starts emitting a Dragon Ball Z-like aura and says she feels power surging out. Everyone comments that they feel much stronger than before. Then our boy hands a royal class card to his sister. With that she can move through space and even fly, so she won't be captured anymore. He also bought an elven race card for Mumu, which will allow her to communicate with plants. Both activate their cards and feel more power. Arriving man, she's the Al Musk of the apocalypse. I've never seen anyone buy so much stuff in a game. With the new class, Mumu can hear the tree thanking them for their help. A strange energy comes to her and a green creature with a crystal on its forehead appears. The tree says that the branches that fell from it are strong weapons, and they should use them. Kangur congratulated Mumu, who said it was all thanks to Yongfan. She tells our boy that the tree said to use those branches as divine weapons. Our boy sees that those branches are tier 3 and understands why it was so dangerous to fight against them. Seeing the spirit she obtained, he comments that it will help her a lot in battles. With that, the unstoppable boy says they finished everything here and it's time to go. However, the village chief says that since they saved them, they should at least stay for dinner. The little girl they helped insists they could very well. His sister and the chubby guy were starving, so they beg Yongfan to stop for a bit. With that, they all ended up dancing around the campfire. Meanwhile, the doctor told our boy that she wanted to stay like this forever. However, our boy is only thinking that she should enjoy the happiness here, because when they get to the city things will get crazy. The scene shifts to half a month later, in the middle of Jiguan City. Unfortunately, their car is out of gas, so they will have to walk the rest of the way. Mumu comments that this journey has been good as they are getting familiar with their powers. You wants to find your parents and show them that now she is stronger and can protect them. Suddenly Kingu notices something. A zombie is coming their way, but Kingu seems very calm. She jumps and starts floating with her new ability. Meanwhile, from a distance you easily finishes it off. Another creature heads towards Mumu and the doctor. Mumu activates the tree spirit, which impales the poor thing. Yet another creature leaps towards the chubby guy. The monster lands in front of them and Mumu warns them to be careful. She says it's a level 2 zombie and it's strange to see it in this part of the city. However, the chubby guy just activates his shield and says there's nothing to worry about as that creature will never get close to them. The creature begins to get bombarded with a beach of magic. It's clear that everyone in the group has become much stronger over the past half-month. Yang Fan then appears commenting on how much they've improved. Even he didn't expect everyone to evolve so much in just half a month. In a split second, King Shuer approaches the zombie and grabs the crystal, appearing in front of the protagonist, who congratulates her. However, suddenly something else approaches them. Our boy remains calm, wondering if it's an ambush, but his sister easily saves them, stating it's impossible for them to die so easily. Mumu activates her goggles and points out the direction from which the attack came. With that, they have a mental connection, as Yu takes a shot, hitting a girl holding an of Yu immediately demands to know why she is attacking them. The girl, who looks like she will join the protagonist group, says they are a bunch of trash who rob other people. Kinga retorts that she's ridiculous for saying that while attacking them. However, the girl suddenly points to the protagonist, saying that Yang Fan stole a crystal from her. She had been fighting a rank 2 creature for the past 5 days, and now they come and take it. She tells a sad story, saying she needed that crystal to trade for medicine for her little sister. Yu, and her innocence, decides to believe her, suggesting they might help her and she can also show them around the city. Our boy, with his elephant-like memory, recalls 2 sisters who were extremely strong in the city. He then asks her what her name is. She says she doesn't care if they want to kill her and reveals her name is Chuk Chomen. Our boy is taken aback, wondering about the odds of something like this happening. He then asks if she's the sister of Chu Shan, and she's confused as to how he knows. Even Yu finds it strange that our boy knows the name. She finds this extremely suspicious, since their city is over 1,000 kilometers away, and starts wondering what secrets this boy is hiding. He knows that in his past life these sisters were unbeatable when they fought together. It would be a huge loss for humanity if he didn't help them. He then says they have a healer in their group who could help her sister. However, Alman only says she would never trust gangsters like them. Our boy throws a crystal to her and says it's a token of trust. She sees the size of the crystal and says it's extremely rare, so why is he giving something like that? Our boy says it's no big deal, and Yu asks her to trust them because they only want to help her sister. Besides, they need someone to guide them in the city. With that, Sealman agrees and the deal is made. She starts guiding the group, warning them that there are very strong people where her sister is. She thinks to herself that all she needs is a cure for her sister. Once her sister is 100%, dealing with these people won't be difficult. They get close to an entrance and she warns them that their base is underground. She approaches, knocks on the door and asks to enter. Yang Fan notices his ring reacting, indicating there's a vendor nearby. A very strong girl asks where Cyan was and says they were worried about her. They immediately point to the group and ask who they are. Sen activates his shield instantly and asks what's going on. Shman tells her older sister that they helped her defeat a level 2 creature and might even save her sister. The leader feels awkward because she didn't know they were allies and says that if that's the case everyone can come in. However, she knows this could be risky, so for now and she'll pretend to be her friend. They start entering and the leader asks how her injury got better. She points to the group and says they have a healer who could even help her. The leader replies that it's impossible since a level 1 healer could never help her. However, Shay Omen shows the crystal they gave and says they can trade it for a real elixir. Her sister thanks her but says unfortunately that won't be enough for her injury. The guy next to her apologizes for letting something like this happen. It happened on the day they went out hunting and she had to save him from a level 2 zombie. Angrily, Shia and asks her sister why she wants to die so badly. Observing this, Gang Fan says to himself that he has a strange feeling about all of this. He then says he can provide the crystals they need, but he'll have to use the trade card. Shaman's sister says they still need 4,000 crystals. Does he have all that? At that moment, Yang Fan pulls out a crystal from his pocket and says to take him to the trading post. The sister named Shon is shocked that he's helping them so much and even save her sister. She then asks why he's doing all this. Our boy says he wants the sister. Both girls blush, thinking he wants both of them since they are sisters. The doctor wonders why he's doing this again. Yu's biting her lip and Sin and wonders if there aren't already too many women in this group. However, our boy is unstoppable and plans to have every girl in the series in his group. He then mentions that he knows they are elementalists and that they don't have anyone like that in their group yet. Everyone is shocked once again because he has information no one should know. Chan says she can help them, but wants to know why he wants them in his group. Over 30 organizations in this city have tried to recruit them, but they prefer to remain independent. She then turns and tells them to follow her, saying they will resolve the other issue first, but she warns Yang Fan not to talk about this with anyone else. She points to the side and says that's where the trader is. Our boy sees it's a level 2 trader and wonders if they have the antidote there. He then tells the group to wait. Approaching the trader, he asks to see the trades once again. Various items appear in front of him. The people in this base are so poor that the best things still haven't been bought. He sees a decontamination potion and wonders if it will help the girl. Additionally, there's a soul ice card, a profession card he plans to use to convince them to join him. However, it's obvious that if they refuse, he won't give them anything. After all, in this apocalypse you must save your own skin first, and he needs as many resources as possible to deal with a damned Shia. How with that the trade is complete. Suddenly he hears shouting about someone about to turn into his zombie. People are blocking the tunnel entrance, while the sisters are on the ground. Everyone sees that the guy in front who was with them has suddenly transformed and is about to advance to level 2. Yu tells everyone to stay back, saying she'll handle it. She starts shooting at the monster, but the bullets seem to be just ricocheting off his body. The creature quickly passes by Yu and heads toward the sisters. Kinger declares she won't let that happen. The sisters comment that once you're bitten by a zombie there's no way to recover. Suddenly King R jumps over the zombie and reaches the sisters. However, the monster is about to grab her, but then a swift cut slices through the air. Of course it was Yang Fan slicing the zombie at the neck. The sister smiles and thanks him. Yang Fan warns his sister that he never wants to see her risking her life like that to save someone else. Again his sentimental boy hugs her, remembering the future when he lost her once. She finds this lost once remark strange and wonders if he's referring to the day she was left alone at school. He hands the antidote to Mumu and asks her to analyze it to see if it's useful. He turns to the sisters and San starts crying, saying her sister is about to transform. Joan on the other hand tells them to kill her before she turns and becomes dangerous. She starts yelling at Mio Cham to cure of her sister. Immediately Mumu explains that the antidote will only buy them a little time. Our boy realizes that there are no more vendors with complete decontamination. Suddenly SH and transforms and turns towards her sister. She jumps on her, pinning her to the ground, apologizing for not being able to control herself anymore. Her sister, almost psychotic, says it's okay and she can feed on her. Our boy steps in and says he has to interrupt their touching moment because he's here to help. You think he pour the potion into her mouth, but he offers it like a drink at a bar. Naturally she's not thrilled and screams at him. Shy Elman says the potion won't work because the guy earlier had drunk one and still transformed. Our boy doesn't care about their protests and kicks the other one. He pins her arms down and forces the potion into her mouth, telling her to stop complaining. The girl had no choice and starts screaming that it hurt. A few seconds later she begins to open her eyes. Hassan approaches and asks if she's okay while the girl is disoriented. Our boy comments that she'll get better and tells the others not to lower their guard. Hai Yen says she has a splitting headache and asks if they gave her medicine. Her sister explains that it was Yang Fan who immobilized and helped her. Our boy explains that the antidote he gave is of common class, which is why it only delays the mutation. However, these apocalypse girls seem to have a screw loose. She thinks Yang Fan is her savior and will have to thank him somehow. Suddenly a bald man comes running, shouting that they have a big problem. Their enemy Zhen Jiang seems to be attacking the base and they've already lost a lot of members. Sean gets up, saying he must have learned about her injuries to come at this time. Scene tells her to be careful since she was nearly transforming just moments ago. You ask the protagonist if they will help. Our boy says they will check out the situation for now. Outside there's a fierce firefight reminiscent of a CS match. The enemies are there because they know there's a trading post inside the base, which is why they want to take it. Suddenly someone destroys the door, Exon quite literally on fire, saying she's there to handle things. The enemies ask why she's there since their intel said she was injured. Now the guy is unsure, thinking if she's using abilities like that they're in trouble. The base members cheer upon the arrival of their leader, and she says that guy is bold to come here. However, she suddenly feels a strange pain. Her magic deactivates and her sister asks what happened. The enemies celebrate again, saying the intel was correct and she's not doing well. They immediately send a group to invade the bomb site. The people at the door say it's better if they stop there. However, the enemy leader orders everyone to stay put, warning that if they make any move their leader will be blown up. Showman points out that if he does anything he will also be killed. This place is worse than Afghanistan, and the sister tells him not to do anything. The guy drops his weapon saying it's fine and he will arm the sister. However, he then orders the bald guy behind him to shoot San in the hand. The bullet hits her arm instantly. The base members begin pleading for the girls' lives and she cries, begging them to stop. She screams a gang fan to please save them. At that moment there's a sudden crack and everyone turns scared, not knowing who did it. The leader looks around unable to find anyone. Once again, he threatens Shan's life, saying if no one shows up he'll kill everyone. Then someone approaches. It's a young fan asking what happens now that he's arrived. His sisters are terrified while Zone wonders why he keeps helping them so much. The bandit tells our boy that he knows he's not from their base, so he'll give him a chance to run away, but the truth is he's terrified because the boy seems too confident to be alone. Young fan simply asks if he's done with his little show because they don't have enough people to stop him anyway. This catches the leader's attention. He immediately orders his men to aim at Yang Fan, asking who this kid is. The others say they don't know, so it's best to take him out before anything happens. However, two hands appear from behind Yang Fan firing shots. A barrage of bullets flies past our boy. At the moment the enemy shoot back, his sister teleports to the front along with San, who activates his shield. The synergy among these kids is impressive. His sister says everything is fine, but Yang Fan replies that there was never any problem to begin with. The enemies on the leader's side are all taken out now. He realizes that Yang Fan was never alone. On the contrary, he was always well accompanied. Miao Chan says to take care of the rest while she helps the wounded. With that the sisters celebrate, saying they are finally safe. The fallen enemy leader asks why so many strong people are helping these two sisters. Joe, and smiling, says they are simply lucky. She then demands to know who gave the information that she was injured. The guy reveals it was someone named Kim Jun who mentioned they were looking to buy a level 2 antidote. She thanks him for the information and promptly knocks him out. She turns to Yang Fan and says he saved them once again. As usual, the artist got carried away while she says she doesn't know how to repay all his kindness. She may not know Yang Fan well, but she is sure she can trust him. Kyan apologizes for having screamed for his help, saying she was desperate. Our boy tells them not to worry because he was just looking for someone in this city. Chan then says that if that's the case they will help him find this person. However, she questions whether with his base now only having 10 people they would accept everyone joining them. She's uncertain because even though he invited her and her sister, he didn't mention the rest of the group. Yang Fan says that's fine, but everyone will have to follow his orders. They smile and thank him. Our boy knows it won't be easy to dominate this city, and having the two sisters will help a lot. Chiel even turns to the rest of the group and announces that from today everyone will obey Fan. The guys thank him and call him boss. Yang King says that everyone is now an ally. Then our boy turns to the sisters and says that now that they are allies he has a present for them. Yang Fan knows what will happen in the future and this card will be perfect for them. Looking at the card, she asks if he's really going to give it to her. Of course he gives it to Man, who is in disbelief at how much he's helping. She then gives a little kiss to the girls, making the others jealous. Sean seems angrier than you, who finds it strange that this girl was so scared. Showman activates the crystal, receiving the soul ice class. Sean is once again convinced that the best option is to always stay by Yang Fan's side, especially since he just made her sister even stronger. A happy Exoman thanks him and says she wants to test her new ability. She unleashes a barrage of ice on the fallen fool, who slides away, making her exclaim how amazing it is. You feeling sad comments that now the group has 2 more people with abilities while she is the only normal one. You might feel sorry for this girl. It's time for her to get the Exodia class or something. Yang Fan tells Sean to be more careful since she'll get exhausted if she uses too much power. Miao Chan helps scam and recover. Yang Fan's priority is to learn more about the city and FU's parents. With her injuries healed, Sean offers to help him start this mission. Kingu says she wants to go with him since she has teleportation abilities. However, Gang Fan says it will be too dangerous and she has a more important mission. He tells her to check the food reserves at the base and give her necklace if needed to help the people. F's group is starving since they haven't found much food since the beginning of the apocalypse. Kinger activates her necklace, fill in the ground with supplies. Seeing the abundance of food, people say they had forgotten what this kind of food looked like. The two sisters rush over, desperate to eat. Y Fan says it's okay, they can take a break, but as soon as Joe and finishes eating they will leave. The group gathers around, desperate. Yang Fan knows that in the apocalypse food is the easiest way to control people. In the end times women would sell their bodies and men would enslave themselves just to get some food. The hungry girl comes running saying she's finished and they can go. However, Yang Fan notices something. She grabbed a chocolate bar and put it in her pocket. He knows that it's very valuable. He tells her to come on, but he has a slightly stern look on his face as they walk through the city. She provides information about who controls each area. Suddenly a zombie comes towards the two of them. Shone steps in front and activates her flame ability, easily burning the creature and sending it flying. She explains that they are in the 5th ring, where only low-level creatures are found. Near the 3rd ring there are many level 2 monsters and even some level 3 es. Yang Fang knows that Yuan's family is near the 3rd ring. He then asks about the other 2 rings. She explains that she has no idea, as they have only reached the third ring at most and cannot advance beyond that. However, she encountered an organization of some humans on the edges of the 3rd ring, but they need to be careful, because the people in that region are much more organized and powerful. He asks if she could hand of a level 2 creature, as she says it wouldn't be easy. A creature approaches from above. She activates a bright flame and throws it at the creature, which easily dodges. The zombie heads towards Yang Fan and she warns him to be careful. However, he just grabs her wrists and says she doesn't even know how to use her own abilities. He redirects her hand and tells her to activate the ability again. This time the attack hits squarely. The zombie is on fire but still alive. She's shocked that Yang Fan knows how to use her abilities better than she does. Our boy lands a sword strike, commenting that her level 1 abilities are very weak. Crystal drops from the zombie's head and he says she will need to evolve soon since they need to go to the 3rd ring. Joim is impressed that he killed a level 2 creature so easily. A while later they are back at the base and Sinan asks if they really need this special training. Yang Fan explains that this place is much more dangerous than before and they need to search for used parents. The special training will have 3 phases. First, they need to familiarize themselves with their powers and understand how to win a battle using them. His sister says she already knows how to save opponents and escape from enemies, so she doesn't need this training. Yang Fan asks her how many times she can teleport per minute and what the maximum distance in meters is. She looks confused, saying she doesn't know such precise details. The others start thinking that knowing these kinds of details could really make the difference between life and death. However, Yu was still crying because she's the only one without any abilities to participate in the train. Yang Fan turns to Mumu and Yu and says that they are not exceptions. Yu becomes excited, saying that she's sure she'll soon receive some special power. She starts talking to herself, feeling selfish for thinking this way when everyone is trying to save her parents. She reminds herself that she is Yang Fan's shooter and even without abilities she's still strong. This sweet girl is highly motivated to help our boy. Yang Fan says they will need to undergo regular physical training and not just rely on the strength given by potions. Additionally, they need to improve their teamwork. Mumu mentions that they've already been practicing a lot and asks if it's really necessary. Yang Fan explains that the training will be different now. Since they will be training by hunting zombies, they will not only strengthen their abilities but also learn to depend on each other. They need to learn to combine their abilities to reach their maximum potential. Only this way will their group be strong enough to reach the 3rd ring. Mian asks if this means they will start acting on their own. Yang Fan says it's impossible for them always to move as a whole group. Eventually they will need to become more independent. Miao Shan thinks he's probably right because they can't be so predictable. The sisters comment that he seems confident enough and all they need to do is trust his strategies. He says that if no one has any objections, the special training will begin tonight. He starts separating the groups and asks if everyone is ready. They all shout in agreement. His sister then asks what he will do since he's not in any group. He says he always has things to resolve. The scene shifts tonight. Yang Fan is walking alone for the city. Now that everyone else's training has begun, he also needs to focus on his own tasks. He knows that this is the shortest path to the main ring. He reaches the outskirts of the 3rd ring where it's filled with level 2, even some level 3 monsters. As a weapon maker he needs many resources to strengthen the team. Suddenly he hears a sound in the area and sees a creature approaching, surrounded by a ring of lightning. The monster is a mammoth killing zombies and adventurers. Yang Fan immediately jumps from a window, knowing the creature's tusk is an excellent material. However, the monster stops and stares at him. The mammoth charges towards Yang Fan, who remains calm. He knows the creature is at least rank 3, so he needs to be cautious. He grips the sheath of his sword, saying he also needs to gauge his current strength. The creature's attack throws him Into the air. He realizes the creature is actually about to advance to level 4. As he is thrown up, it becomes clear that the monster wants to impale him on its tusk using gravity. However, he smiles, stating that this strategy is foolish against him. Using the momentum from the fall, he activates his sword's power. The attack hits the creature squarely. He pierces its EY, saying he's practiced this hundreds of times. In his past life he retrieves the crystal, was about to drop the monster. Roars and emits a glow. Yang Fan is once again thrown into the air. He lands on the ground while the beast stands still staring. He's impressed that even on the verge of death the monster still had the ability to retaliate. However, he's taken back as another ring of electricity appears around the creature. He recognizes this as the light evolution. The monster is advancing to level 4. Yang Fan has encountered situations where creatures evolve mid-combat before the monster continues to war. As it evolves, Yang Fan contemplates whether he should kill it now, since it will be extremely difficult to deal with at level 4. However, if he waits for it to evolve, he contain an orange level crystal which could be used to craft top-tier equipment. Suddenly something flies through the sky and explodes next to the creature. Yang Fan realizes it was a bazooka shot, meaning someone is approaching from the top of a building. Some guys say today's haul looks promising and they'll finally get a good crystal to buy better items. Yang Fan considers whether he should at least warn them that he was already hunting this creature. However, the guy ignores Yang Fan and just orders him to die. The bazooka fires directly at him, but Yang Fan cuts in half, saying they're seeking death. The remnants explode behind him. The guys are shocked at his risky maneuver. Sweating, they remark that this guy seems very dangerous. The red-haired leader says they help so the protagonist can keep 40%. His friend argues that since he's alone they should keep everything, but the other guy points out that the boy isn't normal. Yang Fan declares that he'll keep 90% and they can divide the remaining 10%. The guys obviously aren't happy and say he's asking for too much. Our boy just says they're idiots for trying to steal the creature he killed and still asking for half. The guy starts loading another bazooka, saying this time Yang Fan will be able to dodge. Obviously Yang Fan just jumps and cuts the bazooka like butter. The guy is confused that his bazooka was sliced so easily and Yang Fan is already face to face with the two of them. The guy on the ground warns his comrade not to provoke the kid and Yang Fan agrees with that sentiment. However, suddenly the other guy's expression changes and he smiles. A barrier appears around him blocking Yang Fan's attack. Yang Fan is impressed, realizing it must be a level 3 ability to block his strike. The guy says that now that Yang Fan knows his strength he should kneel and beg for forgiveness. He attacks Yang Fan, saying that regardless of Yang Fan's organization he will die today. Yang Fan thinks that this must be the power of the people from the outskirts of the city. He parries the guy's sword, thinking it's not so bad. Once again he goes for a strike. The guy tries to defend himself, saying he's not afraid of him. Unfortunately for him, he gets pierced and realizes too late that he should have been afraid. With his short reach you couldn't get to Yang Fan, especially since Yang Fan had that protective armor he equipped a while ago. However, the other guy manages to transform his body into steel, preventing him from dying immediately. Yang Fan tells him he was too careless and needs to learn a lesson. He activates the aura on his sword, slicing the guy's body from bottom to top. Even with the steel body the guy is torn apart. Yang Fan says it's time for him to move on to the next life. Suddenly the bazooka guy screams for his brother, but there's no time because Yang Fan cuts him too. The guy smiles wickedly and even on the brick of death activates something on his finger. Yang Fan is hit from multiple directions. The guy reveals he turned his blood droplets into metal and launched them at Yang Fan, claiming that even in death he'll take Yang Fan with him. The bazooka guy points a gun and vows revenge, firing at Yang Fan before he can react, but Yang Fan is in the Matrix and easily slices the bullet in half. In an instant he's face to face with the guy cutting him down. Without wasting a moment he pulls out a healing potion from his ring and starts drinking it. Yang Fan realizes that this city is far more dangerous than he initially thought. In the pig, his problem is that he just consumed the last healing potion he had. Sometime later someone knocks on a door. Sean opens it and asks who's there. However, something catches her attention. Yang Fan is battered and bruised and she asks what happened. He says he went to fight zombies but encountered people with third-level abilities. She is shocked that he faced someone so strong and still came back alive. He asked how the special training went and she tells him to take a look. Yang Fan is also shocked by what he sees. San has a piece of metal stuck to his body. He asks what happened and where Mio-chan is to heal everyone. Xian explains that unfortunately she hasn't returned yet. Sean apologizes, saying that San is in this state because of her mistake. Mumu explains that they encountered nearly 2 ranked 3 zombies, which is why they ended up in this situation. However, Senan says he won't die then easily and asks if he's training the way Yongfan wants. Yongfan, somewhat shaken, says that Senan has been trying really hard. He then hands a potion to Mumu and tells her to use it on San. San knows the potion is expensive and everyone thinks he's a useless chubby guy. The only person who cares about him is Yongfan, and that's why he decided to follow him for life. Satan says he'll pull the metal bar out, ask Mumu to give him the potion at the same time so he won't die. He asks if the chubby guy is ready and San, trembling, says yes. With that he pulls the bar from his chest and at the same moment Mumu gives him the potion to drink. Yongfan says that Sinan will live for a while but they still need Mio Chun to help him. Cho Yen says they went northwest but should have been back by now. Yongfan says he's worried they might have encountered something. He decides to go check it out and tell Shon to keep an eye on San. He starts moving through the city being attacked by zombies but he easily defeats them. The group of 3 girls should be strong enough to handle anything. He then smells a strong scent of blood and knows there's a fight nearby. He was surrounded by a horde of zombies while Mio Chun and his sister are pretending to be corpses. This happened because they're surrounded by a game. The guy with the sharp teeth says they fainted because of his ability. The leader warns the 2 girls to follow him or he'll have to kill everyone. He also tells you to hand over her weapon to receive special treatment. You shoots, saying she wants to keep her distance from that bunch of trash, but the guy is protected by a barrier. At that moment he gives the order to finish her off. You knows they have protection against her bullets, but she won't be able to dodge. She regrets being greedy by following the rank 2 zombies. She tells them to wait, saying she wants to make a deal. She proposes is a one-on-one duel where the loser must obey the winner. The leader is pensive while the psychotic Ji-fan is watching everything, wanting to give her a chance to grow stronger. The guys start laughing, mocking the little girl for challenging the leader. It seems the duel is going to happen as they stand face to face. The guy asks if she's ready, saying he's eager to test her. Motivated, Yu charges, saying he'll lose with 1 punch. However, the guy warns that he's the 2nd strongest puncher in the region, but Yu says she wouldn't be afraid even if he were level 1. She ducks and hits him hard in the ribs. The guy asks if that was supposed to be a tickle. He almost lands a punch on her, or rather he does, sending her crashing to the ground. He says she's very beautiful and it's not worth ruining her face, so she should just give up. The gap between them is significant, especially since he's consumed several evolution potions. Suddenly Yongfan appears and says that while she doesn't have physical strength she should use her other abilities. The guy asks who he is and if he's looking for trouble. The other gang members point their guns and ask if he wants to go to sleep. Meanwhile, you just watch as Yongfan mentions that she has some advantage, but she's not sure what it is. However, the leader is about to land another punch. Suddenly she disappears in front of him. Out of nowhere she starts moving so fast that she creates illusions. The girl comes at him with a triple strike and the leader doesn't know where to defend, or does he? He changes his expression and seems confident. Olive, her attacks L squarely on him, but he says it's nothing more than a tickle until she lands one directly on his groin. She says every man has a weakness. The poor guy falls to the ground, ring in pain, calling her very cruel. She shows no mercy and punches him in the mouth as well. She prepares to deliver kick, hitting him squarely and sending him into the wall. The gang members ask if their boss is okay. Yu, exhausted, says she just needs to exploit the weak points. Thanks to Yongfan she realized there are other ways to fight. This girl is crazy, wondering if this is his way of showing love. However, Yongfan knows very well that it wasn't enough to take the guy down for good, and suddenly he says it's impressive that a little girl managed to do something like that. He appears from the smoke, saying that now he'll have to take things more seriously. Suddenly an aura begins to surround his body and the guy transforms into a werewolf. You look scared, realizing she now stands no chance, or rather the guy turns into a dog with its tongue hanging out. When it disgraces this, she can starts laughing in his face, saying this transformation is ridiculous. The guy gets angry, saying she's the type of person he hates the most and he's going to end her now. He tries to land a punch, but she barely dodges it. She notices that his speed has increased significantly compared to before. The guy spins and kicks her in the spine, saying he's 3 times faster now. Poor Yu is slammed into the wall. She realizes that the only advantage she had is now gone. The guy says it's a shame, but he'll help her reincarnate. He approaches and grabs her by the neck, saying she doesn't need to worry because her body will still be intact. Seeing the punch coming, she knows this is the end for her. She starts to remember a time where she was practicing Climbing. Unlike everyone else, she liked to train without any protection to put her life at risk. From a distance people wondered why that little girl liked to risk her life so much. A man approached to pull her down crying. You asked if her father was there to save her, however he told her that if she decided to climb without safety now she was responsible for that decision. She said her only option now was to keep climbing. You decides that if that's the case she'll keep going till the end. Back in the fight she tells herself that she has to give it her all. The punch is coming but she decides she won't give up like this. She throws herself backward to dodge the punch and immobilizes the guy's arm. The girl uses jujitsu and locks his arm. The fool's face hits the ground and he can't even understand what's happening. Young Fan says that in the past life she became too strong to lose this easily, and there she is breaking the guy's entire arm. At that moment he tries to use his other hand to get her off him, but she quickly lets go of the arm and dodges. She grabs the other one saying he'll lose another. She's really cruel, breaking both arms. While the guy agonizes over the second break she's already pulling out a knife and pointing it at him saying he lost. The leader tells her not to do it saying he surrenders. She says that according to the bet he has to let everyone go. He agrees and just asks her not to finish him off. However he was thinking that Young Fan won't like that. She won in such a dirty way. Suddenly Young Fan calls out to her saying she did a good job. This psycho starts crying with joy while the wolf guy seems to be watching from behind. He jumps her by her neck and she had been distracted so she can't dodge. Blood spurts everywhere. It was Young Fan who slashed him saying the guy should have surrendered. Seeing that he's injured the guy begs Young Fan not to finish him off. However Young Fan just twists his sword and slices him in half saying now he has no choice. The guy falls divided in two and the group begins to flee. The guy with the sharp teeth says it's impossible for the leader to have lost so easily, but then the guy suddenly kneels and says that according to the rules Young Fan is now the new leader of the fourth ring. Young Fan responds that he doesn't want any more members in the group and orders the guy to leave. The guy of the sharp teeth explains that his ability is useless alone, so he needs to be in a group. He starts banging his head on the ground begging Young Fan to accept him. Yu warns that this guy is an enemy. However Young Fan knows that an ability that puts people to sleep is perfect for what he needs. He tells the guy that he will accept him, but if he tries to betray them for even a second he will be cut in half. The guy thanks him saying he will always remember those words. Young Fan then tells him to go wake up the others. With that he watches and then tells Yu to get on his back. She refuses saying she's fine and wants to show she's strong and doesn't need help, but the next second she's almost fainting and falls to the ground like a fool. She realizes she made a fool of herself and should have just gotten on his back. Young Fan, cruel as ever, asks if she wants a ride or not. She climbs onto his back telling him to stop making her so embarrassed. He tells her to stop being so stubborn because when Mio-chun wakes up she'll heal her. The guy with the sharp teeth arrives and activates an ability. A strange purple aura enters the noses of the two girls. Young Fan quickly asks if they're okay. Confused and sleepy they say they suddenly passed out for no reason. The guy apologizes saying it was his power but he's already deactivated. With that Yu shows the zombie crystal saying they managed to defeat everything. King Sh no Mrs. Young Fan is there and asks how he got there. Our boy explains that he came to check on their training and mentions that the guy with the sharp teeth was a new ally to help them deal with other people. Mio-chan realizes that Yu was all bruised and didn't manage to help at all. Suddenly Young Fan's ring starts to glow. He announces that there's something nearby since he's been there for a while and the ring only started glowing now. It means there's a random vendor nearby. These vendors usually have some of the rarest items. He tells everyone to stay put while he goes to check something nearby. The guy with the shark teeth says that anyone who tries to harm these beauties will have to step over his dead body. The doctor realizes that Gay an ally will be a pain. However Young Fan's sister clings to him saying something unexpected might happen. He questions if she really thinks she can help him and she says she's much stronger now. Ji Fan admits that he's been distant lately so he'll let her stay close. He tells her not to let go of his arm and she agrees. They follow the direction indicated by the ring and enter an abandoned building. He warns her to be careful. On the second floor they find the vendor who seems to be a random type. His sister comments that this one looks different from the previous vendors. Young Fan explains that these vendors are only available for 5 minutes. She seems interested and asks if everything will be alright. Without hesitation Young Fan activates the trade. She is surprised and says she has never been in one before. Young Fan comments that you can only enter if you have crystals saved up, implying she's been hiding some. She sticks out her tongue saying she managed to get some during today's hunt. Inside they find some mineral water. Yongfan tells his sister to look for something she wants midair. She grabs a card saying it's for a very rare profession. Yongfan says that this one is perfect for you. As soon as he clicks, do you remember that the last chapter ended when he was picking up a letter that was supposedly perfect for you who's been craving it for a long time? He turned to his sister and said they didn't have much time, but he knew she'd be really happy with it. The exchange was completed and their exit was forced as soon as she found herself outside. Her brother wondered how she got out of there. The strangest thing was that it was getting really cold and our dear Yanan hadn't shown up yet. What it ended was the exchange function of the guy he had activated, but the boy's little ring began to shine as usual. He decided to check to see if the weekly item had returned what was in the shop. This time was a level 4 transmission earring. With it you could talk to someone up to 100 kilometers away outside. Kinger was wondering if that was a bookstore man. The artist nailed the floating effect in that image. She wiped the dust off the filthy book and soon saw it was a math book that reminded her that not too long ago they were all ordinary students and those carefree days really made her nostalgic. That's when our boy touches her shoulder and says it's time to go. A little embarrassed, she says she wanted to ask something. She wanted to know if it was possible to go back in time. Our boy remembered that in the previous life she asked the same question but he couldn't give her a decent answer. However, this time he says that as long as they survive there's still hope. She hugs him saying she's looking forward to the day that happens. Our boy says that for now the priority is surviving, so they need to go meet up with the people who are waiting for them outside. She wonders how you will react when she sees this profession card when suddenly he pulls her by the arm and tells her to be quiet. Lin Mia was telling you to stop playing the heroine because this time she almost died as the zombies approached. Chenu said to leave it to him to handle it. The sister questioned whether they were going to help and he said it was the perfect time to see if that guy was really on their side. Meanwhile Yu was receiving a healing where it mattered most apparently, but she turned to Lin Mu and told her to rest for a bit because she'd been healing for a long time. But Lin Meo replied that it was the only thing she could do since if enemies appeared she wouldn't be able to help. Can you apologize, saying that if it weren't for their gang none of this would have happened. However, you said it wasn't his fault since he was just following orders. Even if he killed her now it would be her fault for not being strong enough. Ken, you told her not to say things like that or Yen Jin would show up and rip his neck off. Heen commented that she had a familiar accent and asked if she was from Shirquan City. She said yes, they were there to find her relatives who lived within the second ring. Can you warn her that only the extremely strong had survived in the second ring, the rest had already they become food long ago. However, you said she wasn't going to give up on the chance of finding her relatives alive. That's when he remembered a guy from the second ring who also had the surname Yuan and was extremely strong. He was the leader of the Scarlet Rose organization and was known as the God of Thunder. He then asked her what her father's name was. She answered that it was Yen Lun, none other than the name of the legend. Shocked, Chenu asked if she was really the daughter of the God of Thunder. All confused, she asked who this God of Thunder was. Right away he got up in her face and told her that this Yen Lu, her father, was one of the 3 strongest in Jigman City. Listening from the side, Kingu was impressed. What our boy found strange was that in the past life her father wasn't famous or strong at all. The world continues to change a lot compared to before. You explained that her father was indeed a military veteran, but she never imagined he would become so strong. He then said he had a photo of the most dangerous people in the city and told her to take a look. As soon as she saw it she recognized her father. She became emotional, saying that she had finally found him. This trip to the city had finally brought something positive. The boy was shocked. He already knew Yang Fun was dangerous, but knowing that the daughter of the strongest man in the city was standing right in front of him made him change his mind. At that moment our boy and his sister arrived. The boy revealed that he had overheard everything and said that now that they knew where Yu's father was it was time for Plan B. Confused, they asked what Plan B was. He informed them that they would enter battle mode, invade the second ring and find her father. Limo asked if he had gone mad. At that moment they couldn't even survive in the third ring. Chenu explained that on the way they would encounter several tier 4 zombies along with mutated plants and different animals. However, our boy said that the reason so many people stayed in the second ring must be because it had many rare resources for evolving. Besides, he didn't know how strong that guy from the past life was. The one he wanted to take revenge on. You said she knew he was eager to help her, but there was no need to worry, soon they would find her father. Our boy said that since everyone was against it they should rest for a bit to increase their chances of success. At that moment Kinger congratulated her on finding her father and said they had prepared a gift. Right then there was a giant letter that looked like a book. She asked what it was and Kinger explained that it was the machinist profession Yenjin had said would be the best for her. She immediately felt healed, saying that in the future she'd have to repay the boy's kindness. Of course she couldn't control her excitement and activated it right away. Her eyes lit up and now she was all geared up with engineering tools. Our boy explained that the mechanic profession made her understand any type of machinery extremely fast. He handed her the gun and told her to test it. At the same time he equipped the ice bomb and the gun to enhance his capabilities. Seeing him do that, Chennu recognized that he must be using some kind of forging ability. The weapon became all shiny and radiant. He then handed it over, saying that unfortunately he could only upgrade a weapon to tier 3. Obviously for Kingra that was still extremely powerful. She immediately fell at his feet begging, but our boy told her he was out of materials. She said it didn't matter, just to tell her what he needed and she'd go gather it. Our boy agreed and said he'd pass her the list later. At that moment the cheeky girl wanted to come give him a kiss. Our boy then told you to try using the gun that an ordinary person couldn't handle. His sister said she didn't leave it and snatched it from her hand. She prepared it and aimed but said it felt like it was empty. He explained that it wasn't empty, the gun had a system that only a mechanic could use to fire it. You was impressed that now she in a type of weapon only she could use. A little embarrassed King handed it back, saying she really couldn't use it. At that moment she was already aiming. She fired a sequence of shots that hit the wall and froze everything. In addition she had another type of special ammunition, an IC explosion. Can you praise our boy, saying he was a genius at making weapons. Our boy then handed over the communication devices. However Lin Mu said they were out of power, so how were they going to use them? But as soon as she put it on her ear obviously it activated since it had magical powers. Right, Kinger explained that it was a tier 4 auxiliary device that communicated up to 100 kilometers. With that none of the 4 of them would get lost in the future, and Chennu was impressed that he was using a tier 4 item. The day came and when it seemed like a quiet day they were going to start the mission and Shin Yu would lead the way since he had a control ability and had been to the second ring before. 3 of them would stay at the base to assist in training the other members while they were away. Cholan asked why her sister wasn't going along and San questioned whether he was so weak that he couldn't keep up. Our girl explained that on the contrary she had stronger firepower and he had the best defense. This meant that she was one of the few people he could leave behind at the base and trust they would be able to defend the place. At that moment they got excited. Our girl is good with words. Cheeky. Meanwhile Yu was just looking at the photo, saying she missed her father a lot. A while later Chen Yu was walking alone up front. He knew that these inner rings were much more dangerous. He had gone ahead alone because Yan wanted to test him, so this was a good opportunity. He would do his best and earn our bow trust. However that's when he approached a crater. The place was destroyed and there was no way through, so he had to turn back. But just then someone appeared from behind and asked where he thought he was going. Just as the side character eager to get beaten up showed up to make trouble. The muscular guy asked if he was looking for a trading place like they were. Ken Yu said no, he was just looking for food because he was starving. But then the guy suddenly jumps and says that he has a face that looks perfect for getting beaten up, and man, he's just asking for it. Full of confidence. Little time passes. Our boys group was already on the way and at the same time gathering some food, since most of it was left at the base, and Mumu, wearing that cute outfit, asks if they're hearing that. Right away another scream echoes and they all jump in fright. Our boy already knew something had happened to Chin Yu. He tells everyone to continue while he would have to go ahead. However Kingu says she'll use her ability which will be faster. She grabs our boy's arm and says they'll go together first. You said is she stronger now, and tells Mumu to ride. However Mumu insists on taking the other girl because she's pretty much useless in combat. Man, poor Chen Yu went to get beaten up and the guys are wondering why Trash Len has the guts to go out at night. At least you could admire that he held out for so long. Brave Chen Yu still says that when their boss arrives they're all going to die. Our boy was right there on the side watching this. Kinger tells him not to worry, she knows how to save him. Our boy seemed reluctant to trust his sister's plan, who was about to take a risk again. When the GU said it was getting late, it was time to finish off the Guy, one of them created an electric hand and slammed him to the ground. Man, this rescue of Chinna sure is taking its time, isn't it? And the guy says he's taking his time to kill him just because of the threat, but right then someone tells him to let go. It's our boy Clean Hands, calmly appearing behind everyone, just giving that look like no one's going to leave alive as they get distracted. King War teleports next to Chenna. The lightning guy wasn't going to let them escape that easily. He jumped on her back and the sister saw that dodging wasn't going to work. However, a barrage of attacks came his way that forced him to cancel his attack to dodge. Our boy with that flaming sword says that he missed by just a bit, and the guy responds that he never expected to run into someone like him here. They were going to collect our boy's crystal, which would make today's trip worth it. Lennon says to take it easy so he can have some fun too, and the muscle guy says he'll go first. Kinger tells him to escape quickly, but our boy says he'll have to deal with these guys. It seems he remembers this group from the past life and never imagined they'd be together so soon. The two want to stay and help, but our boy says they need to get out of there immediately. They obey, just asking him to be careful. As she enters the portal, she says she'll bring everyone back to help him soon. Our boy is excited that fate has put them face to face again. The guys start talking about how whoever lands the final blow will get the boy's sword. What kind of talk is that, old man? But at the same time he's already next to Young Finn, saying he'll cut him in two. Young Finn remembers that this guy's specialty is agility and fast sword drawing, but for now he wasn't that fast yet, and man, he sends an upward strike locking his draw. The old man already realized that with just a slap his sword was already cracked, and the blonde guy behind him says he never imagined there'd be such a strong boy around. Here a red energy starts to come out of his hand, and our boy knows he has arranged a sonic blast. It's something difficult to deal with, especially considering how much this guy hides, and the blonde guy questions if he really thinks he'll survive at this distance. Man, he sends a Kamehameha in our boy's direction, who knows how strong a thing is but not strong enough since he's not a level 8 yet. Right then someone fires a shot. Look at the projectile coming at the idiot. He already realizes there's no way to dodge in time. He changes the direction of the attack to throw his body to the side. With that he ends up looking like an idiot, sending all his magic into the wall, and you warns that our boy isn't alone. In fact, he's very well accompanied. Who obviously in Apocalypse. The guys immediately send out the classic line about how they're going to take care of them in many ways, but you already lands 2 shots on the fool. Man, this weapon is useless. First time using it and it's already not working. The guy says a 3rd-tier weapon isn't bad, but it's even better, and now it's going to be his. At that moment he jumps on top of them, but then he takes another explosion. I'm not sure if it was a punch or what happened. There was our Marvel hero who showed up to block, telling him to forget about that. Yeah, they're all healed up now. They love it when the boy saves them. He sends his slash, which the guy barely dodges. The muscle guy doesn't understand how his punch was blocked so easily, and the other guy says to give up. He doesn't stand a chance. He warns that our boy does have some skills, but it's a shame he's going to die here since he's face to face with him once again. The guy throws a punch and our boy's sword is more like a shield. At least it explodes every time it defends. The two fools are back, and our boy realizes this bastard is just as strong as in the past life, and the side character realizes it's going to be hard to kill our boy. Not only was his attack blocked, but his arm also went numb, and with that sword in his hand there's no guarantee he'll win. Young Finn is trembling too. That attack left him shaken. No wonder this guy is considered a genius. He needs to advance his strength to level 3 soon, because right now in fight he's at a complete disadvantage. At that moment Lin Miao places her hand on his shoulder and begins to cast a healing spell. The guys realize that this healer is much stronger than the usual ones, and in an apocalypse like this having someone like her at the base would be perfect. They get excited again, and one of them immediately says to hand the woman over, but just in time Poor Yu aims her weapon. However, our boy stepped forward, confronting him and asking what kind of talk this is about stealing allies. He swung his sword right in front of the guy's punch. Now you're going to bleed, you fool. Roy points at the guy's neck and warns that one more step and his head will hit the ground. The muscle guy can't believe this bastard stopped his punch so easily, and Yenjin warns that they have 10 seconds to get out of there or their buddy is going to die. But the so-called genius just laughs, saying he can count straight to 1 because he doesn't have the ability to stop everyone there. He tells everyone to go all out because the objective is to take that healer, but right then an attack interrupts their advance. Our boy is happy that they finally arrived. The entire team was back. King SH immediately asks Lin Mu to heal poor Ting Yu, who's about to bite the dust in this situation. No one had the courage to advance anymore. While he apologizes for getting beaten up, Lin Mu heals him. The guys notice they're facing a large group and each of them seems to have high-level abilities. You've asked if they still want the fight after ending up in this situation, but what Yang Fin finds strange is how calm these guys still seem. That's when the so-called genius says they won't be able to hide their power anymore today. He tells everyone to go all out. The muscle guy lets out a roar, activating an aura, and the guy comes at Yen Jin with a bomb. He manages to retreat, dodging, and sends a slash straight to his arm. However, the guy's skin is now like diamond. He explains that a bronze body can't be cut even by a level 4 weapon. Our boy knows he has the best weapon in the group and still can't leave a single scratch. At that moment the old man grabs the blade. In 1 second he draws it, creating a shadow behind him. He jumps toward Mumu and says it's her end now, but Sean creates an ice barrier to protect the two. The problem is that he's too fast and was dodging. Man, he sent a slash toward her head. Once again it was interrupted. Mu's floating plan had created a giant trunk to save the two, but it didn't last long before being torn half. Once again an explosion occurs. Apparently it was a special chicle explosion that destroys most tissues, but this old man doesn't give up and now says it's the end for the two of them. Our boy screams for them, but the guy is already getting closer. Yu warns that it's not the time for him to worry about others. Yu pulls her weapon saying she's going to help them, but the blonde guy steps in front saying he won't allow that, and that's when a thunderbolt crashes down with someone asking who the fool is messing with his daughter. In the same second, the blonde guy takes a punch to the face, falling to the ground like a piece of trash. No need to guess who that is, right folks? It's Yu's father, and man, his design is the ugliest I've ever seen. Someone please save Mumu, who's about to get a smack on the head. Thank you to whoever saved her. It seems to be Yu's father's friends telling the guys to stop harming the girls. The old man in the hat recognizes the guy as Mu Hyodo from the Scarlet Rose team. Meanwhile our genius boy is still off to the side playing around. The guy is impressed, saying it's amazing he hasn't lost yet. Our boy slashes his hand, calling him a bastard, but then he feels something coming from behind. The muscle guy warns that he messed up by letting his guard down, but something comes to interrupt. Another guy steps in and saves our boy. It's the chubby guy from the office, saying they really are shameless. The guys are wondering why the entire Scarlet Rose showed up so quickly. They never imagined that group as weak as this one would have such strong backing. Father says that if they want to continue fighting they can take this to the end. The leader was about to say something, but the muscle guy interrupts, saying that of course they would continue fighting to take down the Scarlet Rose scum, but his friend immediately slaps him on the head, asking if he's so eager to die. He apologizes to the God of Thunder and if they'll stop there. However, he warns them to remember that the Sky Will organization won't forget this. He advises Yu's father to give up on Scarlet Rose and join them. Father says he'd rather stay with Scarlet Rose than join their trash organization and become the boss's LAPD. The guy grits his teeth, but knows he can't do anything. He goes up to our boy and asks why he doesn't join their group. His group is not only stronger than the God of Thunders but also has a better chance of survival, but our boy starts laughing, leaving the guy confused. And out of nowhere he draws his blade. The scared guy asks what he's thinking of doing. He tells his friend to stop, that he was getting involved. Roy passes by and he says that sooner or later he'll regret it when Judgment Day comes. With that he calls the group of fools to leave. The muscle guy asks why they don't just finish everyone off since they're stronger. However, the leader doesn't seem to believe that. He warns that for now they're no match for these Thunder Team guys. Besides, their plan to integrate the first and second ring was about to begin, and when that happened, they wouldn't survive. Meanwhile, Yu's father is all emotional, asking when she lost so much weight. A bit embarrassed she asks when was the last time USH shaved right. Then she pushes him back and asks where her mother is. He seems hesitant to answer and she asks again. The scene changes to the Scarlet Rose operations base. Inside he says it's a military base, so the defense is very good. Yu keeps pressing about her mother and the office guard says she's not here right now. Her father explains that she shouldn't worry because she just went out to collect some supplies and she's an expert at it. A little later they're in another room. Yu was sad that she has to wait 3 days to see her mother, but her father reassures her, saying she always comes back safely. Meanwhile, Lu Chun is finding a room for everyone to settle into. King's comments that she also misses her parents, and our boy says they'll soon find theirs too. However, what he finds strange is this thing about the mother being gone for 3 days, since it's extremely hard to survive outside. Then Lu Chuan presents 2 rooms and says for now they can use those. Danner of Jingu is just calling the girls for some fun while the chubby guy asked our boy if he's going to join them. Yanjin wants to know where the trading guy is because he needs to buy some things. However, Lu Chu Man says he knows how rare a trading post is, so they can't share that information unless he plans to stay at the base. Yanjin immediately uses his little hammer to make an offer. He says he has the forging ability and if they give him materials he can build weapons for everyone. The guy is impressed that he managed to make a knife with almost no material. He says that if that's the case they have a deal and tells him to follow him. He warned that this is the last trading post that appeared. Since they emptied the others he could buy whatever he wanted, but he had to keep his promise afterward. Our boy says not to worry and is already asking to see the items. The chubby guy is happy to have received such a helpful person at the base, as especially since he saved the boss's daughter. If a Scarlet Rose team got stronger maybe they could defeat those filthy Sky-Willed guys. Our boy is impressed that this is a new trading post and even the challenge function hadn't been used yet. Right away he accepts the Icy Night challenge. In the next second he's teleported and in front of him some figures start to approach, a bunch of tier 2 and tier 3 knights for our boy who has a flame weapon. This is exciting, but just as he's about to draw his sword the knight strikes his eye. Thought this knight would be bigger and tougher. The first one was pretty easy and he's already charging toward the others. Man, this is way too easy. He's just slashing through each one. The last tier 3 knight prepares to throw a spear. That one almost hit the fool in the face, but he just made a vertical slash with his sword causing an explosion of flames. 3 of them were down on the ground and he relaxed, not realizing another was coming, or maybe he did. As he just swung his sword to the side he notices that his forging ability is about to level up, so this place was giving him a lot of experience. It seems there's an entire army inside this place. With that he kept fighting a few minutes later. The poor guy was exhausted. He had advanced his forging to level 3 and was about to be kicked out of the place, but then he starts to notice something strange. That mission didn't seem to be ending and he wonders why. That's when a mounted knight appears behind him. He realizes that the things he's been fighting were just the weaklings of this place, and the strange thing is that this creature seemed to have the same energy as the black seas of the apocalypse. Before he can think much, the beast is already in front of him. The level 4 creature is so fast that he has to defend himself, but the poor guy gets thrown far. He hit his back like a fool. Our boy realizes that this thing is much stronger than the others, and worst of all, it's extremely fast. He barely dodges. Again he notices he's only surviving because the creature doesn't have a weapon yet. Man, a mind reader immediately pulls out one, and before he knows what to do the creature is already aiming to throw it. Our boy takes a hit from the spear. Man, I didn't think he had really been pierced, but he allowed himself to get hit and avoided any vital points, even though it's very close to the heart, almost vital. But the psycho is excited, saying it's been a long time since he felt something like this. The knight pulls an axe from his back and comes to cut the poor guy in half. At that moment our boy has an idea and elbows the spear. He manages to free himself in time and dodges the axe attack. Since the creature has dark seeds, he grabs a purification potion and throws it toward the knight. However, the item hits and does nothing, but our boy notices that the KN purposely froze the water. This confirms that he's afraid of the purifying water. The problem is that this fight won't last much longer. He needed to create a chance, and the knight came in for another attack. The crafty guy dodges and lands on top of the weapon. It was the last bottle he had, so it needed to work. However, the knight swings the blade at him. Man, the crazy guy once again decides to endure the attack because he didn't have time to dodge. Even the knight was shocked by the insanity of this maniac, but now with him trapped it was the perfect chance. The water hit the idiot right on the head and spilled all over his face. Since he was a corrupted being, he began to be purified. He realized that this was working and this challenge had something to do with the apocalypse. The seeds, the trades, everything that was happening made him think there was someone behind all of this. However, the most important thing for now was that the challenge had been won. With his new forging level he received the ice extraction skill, which allowed him to create even stronger things. In addition, he got a frozen war horse that was extremely fast and had high defense. He was excited. He had evolved quite a bit, though matter as much as he expected given the risks. That's when he gets a shock and realizes that in fact he had leveled up his forging twice by killing that boss. He's in pain because he's all beat up, but it was worth it since he reached level 4. He drinks the experienced potion he received, which also levels up his personal level to 3 now. His level 4 forging ability was called Master of Ice. The boy even developed heterochromia, which is when you have different colored eyes, but in desperation he quickly grabs some potions to avoid dying. Since he's completely worn out since he leveled up, he can now buy level 2 potions, which are much better, and of course he cleaned out everything in the shop. Now was time to check out the most important thing, the item inside the ring. The energy gathers and a card starts to appear. What emerges is another evolution potion, but it costs 40 red crystals even with a discount. Unfortunately, our boy only has one of those crystals, which he got from killing that bull. He urgently needs to get back to killing those high-level creatures to gather more and only then evolve. He leaves the vendor, who's dozing off after waiting so long. He congratulates our boy for reaching level 3. Seeing him all beaten up, he asks if he really went to the challenge field. Our boy says yes and asked to reserve the other 2 challenges for him as well. He didn't even know it was possible to challenge again, and the chubby guy says that if he fulfills his part of the deal, of course he can. The greedy guy says he can even make equipment above level 2, but he has 2 conditions. They need to provide all the materials, and he wants 100 red crystals. Man, I thought the chubby guy would make a fuss, but he just says that red crystals aren't a big deal for them since they've been hunting level 4 creatures for a long time. Besides, they've been stockpiling materials waiting to find someone with forging abilities. What he can't believe is that our boy will actually manage to create something at least tier 2 every time our boy starts forging, saying you'll have to see to believe it. Man, I thought he was going to make some medieval weapons, but the kid went ahead and made a machine gun. He explains that there's no need to worry because with level 4 forging he guaranteed there won't be any mistakes. The guy says that if that's the case his payment is guaranteed and demands 50 crystals up front. After all, tier 2 weapons are extremely good since it's very hard to recover from the damage they cause. Our boy goes back to the shop right away. He's not going to waste time and will evolve quickly since it's getting harder to protect everyone. He completes the trade and asks to go to the place where the materials are stored. The guy shows him a place full of materials, telling him that everything that comes from at least level 3 creatures, including a rare tier for rhinoceros horn. Our boy's sly and ask the guy to keep an eye on the door since he'll need a lot of concentration. Off he goes with his little forge. Sometime later he's already produced several weapons which left him exhausted, but of course it was time to improve his own equipment. He begins by pulling out the sword that was stuck in the ring, and then he starts showing off with his powers. Man, the pirate techniques are going strong for this upgrade, but he notices that the items seem to be rejecting each other. If that's the case, he decides to use the level 4 horn on his outfit. With that, it transforms into a rhinoceros shirt with an auto healing effect and an attack feature. He knows how rare that is because it's difficult for an outfit to have 2 effects, but it's time to keep helping the others and forge as many items as possible. Sometime later he continues producing until Luchuan walks in and is stunned. The Brad produced an entire arsenal. As a reward the guy gives him another 50 red crystals and even some tier 2 potions that was to help his friends evolve. Our boy thanks him. A while later the group feels a bit embarrassed to receive something without having done anything. They ask where he got it and he says it was from his brother Lu Chuan, so they don't need to worry. It was good for everyone to drink up quickly because even though their abilities were great, everyone's body was still pretty weak. Following the master's orders, they all took a big gulp. He then said that in addition he had made some new weapons for everyone which were stored in this bag. You receive a tier 3 drone that could operate independently for 24 hours. The sister got a dagger that could quickly penetrate even tier 4 armor. Muma received an item that enchanted her with electric power, drastically increasing her speed, and Chenu V a cake that allowed him to control the air, which would help activate his ability. He then told the 2 of them to head back to the base and bring everyone here. The sister then asked what she should do, saying she wanted to help with important things too. Apparently, there was equipment that the group received without knowing because Lime was there, saying she was eager to test it. Our girl then tells her sister to drink that item first, and so he tells her. With that she consumes another potion, saying she's excited. She levels up again. She tells our boy that she's already tier 3, so she shouldn't be underestimated anymore. Our boy reminds her that her main role is to stay alive. With that, night falls and morning comes. There's noise coming from the base inside. Everyone wonders what's happening. One of the guys immediately informs them that the Sky-Will organization is attacking outside. A guy on top of a car says he wants to see who's going to stop him from ending Scarlet Rose. He was generally a tier 3. Next to him was Leo. Tony sounds like a big guy's name, but it doesn't fit a girl. Then Yen Lu appears, asking what they're doing there and if they're tired of living. Tony says this is their last chance to join the Sky-Will organization today. They either accept the offer or die. Of course the father just says that they aren't strong enough to take his life. Leo Chuan however warns him to be careful because these people are stronger than expected, but he responds that he will show the true strength of Scarlet Rose. At that moment a guy stretches out his hand and says he'll deal with it. He throws a bunch of grenades and activates a chain explosion. Man, that was almost atomic, wasn't it? Even Lu Chun thought the poor guy was done. However, Ganon tells him not to worry, that he's definitely fine, and then he appears right in the fool's face saying today he'll learn not to underestimate his opponents. But that's when Tony shows up from above and blocks his attack with a flame. But our boy believes in equal rights too. He changes the direction of the attack and sends our flying. The side characters are easily tossed aside. Even our medic Azenya is shocked by the power difference, and Yanl says it's too late for him to run away now. However, he realizes that part of his power seems to be blocked, that Tony had a crazy power and protected everyone. People were impressed with that annoying power of hers, and the sister drew up that it looked like she'd never go bald. Our boy reminds her that this is a combat situation. Tony then says they'll lose if that was the strongest attack from this base, and the guy warns them that it's best to accept the grenades and give up. But Yen Lu just says he'll never become anyone's dog. He charges forward ready to strike again. However, the girl with the long hair says the story will be the same no matter how many times he tries, and she unleashes the Minix attack. Man, those hairs are alive and out of control. While he's immobilized, the guy passes by saying he's going to hurt his friends. He jumps to throw a grenade at the chubby guy, but the chubby guy warns him that Yanl isn't the only strong person at this base. The grenades come, and he shows how professional he is at swallowing them all. That's the name of his ability, folks. And there our boy tells him to spit it out quickly, but the guy warns that he's going to explode from the inside out. Man, he really exploded the chubby guy from the inside. Even Yanl was shocked. Oh my god, I thought he had a trick up his sleeve, but he passed out like an idiot. What do he think would happen when he swallowed the bomb? At that moment our boy with a foolish expression tells his sister to run because she doesn't stand a chance, but she responds not to underestimate her and says they have to help those who saved them, and she disappears right in front of the fool already running toward the chubby guy. She says she'll save him, but the Gred guy says that this level to yet will die right there. Another crazy girl, seeing the bombs coming, decides to pull out a dagger. At least she wasn't greedy and it exploded outside. She grabs the chubby guy with 15 IQ in her arms to flee. As soon as the two disappear, the guy is impressed that she really had a third-rank weapon. She teleports him behind everyone in front of the base, but this crazy guy is already on top of them. Does this guy a teleportation too? And now a rain of grenades is coming down on the copy-paste side characters. Hey girl, isn't it time to close your eyes and get into the fight? Our boy realizes he'll have to save them once again when suddenly purple arrows shoot out from the door. The grenades are all exploded in the sky, and the guy asks how many players are in this damn base. Well folks, the most dangerous ones have arrived at the base. King Shore is already excited that everyone's here, and our boy realizes they've really gotten a lot stronger. For now he's waiting for these guys to use their secret card so he can join the fight. Guy with the infinite grenades keeps throwing a barrage, but now you armed with her drone easily takes them out. As soon as they leave the guy's hand they explode in the sky. Well, not all of them, because some are headed her way, but she says she's not worried because she can count on her friend. Here comes Moo like a ballerina. She leads 50m into the air, floating gracefully. She lands a kick straight into the glutton mouth. His head explodes. There's no way that fool's still alive before he can even fall. She's already there to finish him off. Our boy is impressed that they finally learned that in this apocalypse you can't show mercy to anyone. However, the long-haired woman puts up a shield, and the worst part is that poor Moo gets captured. Her electric boots are being pulled. Man, the enemy of the bald immobilized both of them. She slams Moo to the ground and asks if they really want to keep going with this. Here comes Kingu ready to sacrifice herself, but Yu jumps on the long-haired woman's back, pulling out two pistols. She fires a series of shots along with the drone. However, that damn long-haired woman is unstoppable. Man, Yu decides to try a different strategy, attacking with the drone from one side and herself from the other, but Tony says she'll only learn once she's captured too. At that moment her father shouts for her to run, but she says she's not afraid and fires 2 more bullets. Tony's brutal poor you gets lightly impaled. Her Chinese drone has gone to the afterlife and the poor girl is devastated. Although she seems more upset about the drone than herself, Tony says she's resilient but she'll have to pay the price for going against her. Stomping on you. Tony asks once again if the Scarlet Rose group will submit to them. King wants to help but our boy tells her it's not the time yet, he just needs to figure out a few more details and then they'll step in. She asks why he's taking so long. He says he can't explain but he has to find the perfect moment to resolve this. Poor you is still being crushed. Tony then turns to the Scarlet Rose group and says their leader is useless, so why do they still follow him? Meanwhile Mumu wonders why our boy is stalling so much. She seems to have an idea but says nothing. Meanwhile the group on the ground calls out for the boss. Tony asks how many bosses they have to keep calling for another one when suddenly something almost hits her. She manages to defend herself and asks who was bold enough to try. It seems our boy is the new boss. He warns her that in 1 minute she'll be dead. Apparently it's a fashion showdown because they're just standing there staring at each other. The crazy woman even lights a cigarette ad that he looks brave, but she says he needs to know there's a price for being arrogant in front of her. She warns that first she'll cut off his arm. Yen Fong just says he'll let her attack first because otherwise she won't last the full minute he mentioned. Suddenly something's coming from behind him. Lin Mu screams for him to be careful. Tommy says he can give his speech in hell. Another explosion rocks the field. It seems he took the hit directly but his new Rosero's outfit provided strong defense. The item created a powerful shield. Tony is impressed, wondering how a weak kid like him has a level 4 item. Then a guy shows up and warns that everyone at this base is loaded with items above level 2. She says it's good to know as there'll be new gear for the Sky Will. She tells the guy to use all his power because it's time for a bloodbath. With that he places his hand on her hair, activating a purple poison. They're combining their abilities immediately. The acid starts corroding Mumu's body while her father agonizes, saying it's his fault for being so weak. Then suddenly our boy attacks from above. Seeing the poison situation he knows he can't stall any longer, but here comes a Tokyo Ghoul attack, one for each side. The long-haired woman says half the minute he mentioned his pass and she's still intact. She warns that this correction poison is much stronger than he thinks. Our boy's tier 4 armor is being eaten away, and with that some of Tokyo Ghoul's tentacles are starting to pierce through. Our boy finally manages to slash at her hair. He warns that even if she destroys his armor it's irrelevant because she's still going to die in the end, but she just tells him to look at his own feet. That's when the poor guy realizes he's already been poisoned too. Our boy is shocked because he didn't even notice when it happened. However, he says he knows very well that using this much hair must be draining her energy. She responds that it doesn't matter because it's already too late to be talking about that. She's one of the 5 strongest in the Sky Will, not to mention that she also received powers from the boss and he didn't stand a chance against her anymore. She screamed, telling him a dial ready. Another explosion rocks the base from afar. People wonder if they're really going to die there without a fight. The chubby guy tries to be a hero and tells everyone to run and not worry about them dying there. However, Kinger says her brother is still fighting, so they would be shameless to flee. She insists that he would never lose. There's our boy fighting the long-haired woman. He says it seems he can't play around with her anymore. He activates his new ice creator ability. Some sort of circle forms around his hand. He says it's the first time he's had to use this, but the long-haired woman doesn't even care, telling her ally that the boy's efforts are ridiculous. Her cursed hair keeps moving toward our boy. But what's this? The boy raises a wall like in Game of Thrones. Both of them are startled, wondering where he went. It was a gigantic iceberg and her hair couldn't get through. That's when she gets a shock. A small door opens. The boy built a Minecraft base and with some swagger he starts walking forward, but he's still poisoned, isn't he? He warns her that there are still 10 seconds left in the minute he mentioned. However, she laughs, saying that with his leg in that condition you won't even be able to walk because of the toxin. But our boy just stretches his arm and says he has a ride. He immediately summons the warhorse he received. He charges toward her, saying he wants to see if she can really pull off a miracle at the end. However, she sends a Toyo Ghoul hair, saying it's him who's going to die. Yanan was just waiting for this moment to get closer. Then he extends his hand. An ice prison begins forming around the two of them. On the other side, everyone sees the iceberg being destroyed. They wonder who the shadows approaching are. Obviously our Boy had finished off the long-haired woman. The girls who helped weren't all that happy. The father asks if he wants to capture the grenade guy who's lying on the ground, but our boy isn't too keen on that and simply says he doesn't deserve to keep living, and Manny stabs him with ice in the back. He raises an entire ice monument as the guy rides in pain. Everyone is shocked, wondering what's happening, but with that the fight seemed to finally be over. They capture the Sky Will members and start healing each other. Lino explains that she can heal their injuries, but she can't remove the poison. Yanin says that's why he left the long-haired woman alive, because they must know a solution. The poison guy says that if they heal his boss they'll help remove the poison from everyone, and then they'll leave the unknown. Tells Lin Mio to heal him just enough so neither of them dies, but the guy keeps screaming, saying that if they don't heal her properly, he won't help anyone. Roy raises his hand and asks if he's really trying to make threats, but the guy says that if he dies no one will be detoxified and everyone will go down with him. He swears that even if he dies he'll save his boss. However, Kingra points her blade at him and says that it looks like he's also trying to save the one who obeys him, so if that's the case she'll kill his boss right there in front of him. She asks if he really wants to play that game. The guy pleads for her to do anything but kill his boss. Lin Mu tells him to explain how to remove the poison. He says he knows how and can fix this. Our boy then releases both of them and tells him to detoxify those in the most advanced stage. Is first he approaches is saying the process might be a little painful. Mumu wants to understand that poison since it would be a powerful weapon. Meanwhile Yu is sad that her little drone was completely destroyed. The guy removes the poison from everyone and then says it's Yang Fin's turn, but as soon as he touches Yang Fin's leg he warns that they better save his boss or he'll make the poison spread even faster. Everyone rushes to help, but our boy tells them all to wait. He asks the fool if he's in love with the long-haired woman. The guy gets all embarrassed and awkward, leaving everyone speechless. Our boy tells him not to worry and explain exps that he realized the relationship between the two wasn't just one of subordination. He tells Lino to heal the boss and says that if they answer their questions honestly he might even let them leave alive. The guy thanks him, saying if that's true he'll tell them anything they want. With that they start to heal Yang Fun's legs. The long-haired woman slowly wakes up and he's already smiling, saying that she's finally back, but at that moment she turns alarmed. She asks what he's doing and tells him to stop removing the poison from everyone. The guy explains that he's doing it because he wanted to save her, but the long-haired woman says that Scarlet Rose is only good for creating zombies. A frightened Yu asks what she's talking about, and Tony says that the fact Yu is alive shows that her father refused to accept the truth that his wife is dead. She fires an attack in his direction, warning that if it weren't for the boss of preferences he would have died a long time ago. The poor guy calls himself useless, unsure of what to do. Her attack is about to hit his face when she gets pierced by an ice bullet. The fool calls out for his boss, but of course our boy wasn't going to let her go through with it. Fallen, she says he's only been interfering with the true boss's plans, and she fires an ATT attack at our boy, but John RLY the poor guy steps in front. He tells his boss to give up because they don't stand a chance against this boy. She had to accept that the Skywheel didn't respect the two of them, and this was the perfect chance for them to start caring about themselves, but she insists that only the Skywheel-based leader Zul Lingen is worthy of everything she has. Poor guy, you don't stand a chance. Still he insists, telling her to kill him then because he couldn't bear to see her die. Our boy says the poor guy didn't deserve to suffer this much, and with that he pierces the boss for good. JN Early cries out for his leader, but she smiles, saying she does everything for the Skywheel. The guy grabs her and asks why she tries so hard when she's being used as a tool. At that moment Yanin asks him to explain why the Skywheel leader wants to unify the regions. The guy explains that it's because of an extremely rare vendor that appears in the first ring. The problem is that to get close to him they'll need many sacrifices. Even though the treasure is infinite wealth, the Skywheel doesn't have enough members on its own, so they want to use a lot of people for the sacrifices. As he says this is holding the poor woman. He then says that unfortunately the long-haired woman had passed away. Mumu is impressed by how Jemu and his feelings are in the apocalypse, and my sister thinks that if Yenin were ever to die she would probably feel the same way. It seems both of them are gone because our boy says to bury them together. That was kind of sudden. I thought the guy was confessing not dying right there. A little later they're all walking down a corridor. Yenfin notices the atmosphere is heavy and uncomfortable. Limo asks if he wants her to fix his clothes, and he says it's not necessary. At that moment they arrive In front of a door the father asks if she really wants to see her mother like that, as he's sure she wouldn't want to be seen in that condition. You says it doesn't matter how she is, she's still her mother. Kingo asks if you will be okay after seeing this. Our boy says not to worry, that she's not that fragile. With that the door opens in the best Hunter x Hunter Kaido style. Her mother is trapped in the back of the room. Transformed Yu stands there calling out to her. She runs forward desperately, with her father shouting for her not to approach. At that moment Son freezes her feet. It's our boy, and she screams telling him to let her go, but yeah, Kin asks if she's trying to die and if she really thinks her mother would want to turn her into a zombie. He takes out a decontamination vial, saying the chance of her surviving is minimal. King Zura tells everyone not to worry, that her brother has treated others before. Yu was moved that he would use something so rare just for the small chance of saving her mother. At that moment our boy throws the liquid on her face. Man, there's no way this woman is coming back to life, especially since half her mouth is already gone. The father is emotional and Yu pleads for her to get better, but our boy notices something strange. Her mother is exuding a strange green aura. She's repeating the names of her family members, remembering moments from the past, everything they went through to raise you. It seems this father wasn't the best either. She was already exhausted and tired of living like that. She couldn't stand crying anymore. Suddenly her power seems to increase. Yenin tells everyone to be careful because she seems to be evolving. The purification potion doesn't have that effect, meaning she already had dark seeds in her. As he gets closer he notices that the seed is increasing the creature's hatred 100-fold. And her mother starts to roar. Everyone wants to rush in to help our boy, but he tells them all to stay back because they wouldn't be able to handle it. The father keeps shouting for his wife to wake up, and Yu says she's her daughter, but my friend, you better face reality because the woman has already jumped at you. She may no longer be his wife, but she still used mother. The poor man falls like trash, and at that moment the mother starts staring at Yu. Yenin tells her she needs to understand that's no longer her mother, and that he'll have to kill her. He charges forward, activating his ice power, but the delusional Yu jumps in front, saying she knows she's a zombie but also knows she's still her mother. Our boy is furious because now he can't strike, and the mother continues conjuring energy. She approaches Yu, who, crying the foolish expression, apologizes. Now the mother seems to stop for a second, but man, the attack is coming. Heated and emotional, Yu says that despite everything she still loves her mother. The creature hesitates for a moment, and although she can't speak you can see tears in her eyes. Our boy wonders if this type of zombie now has some hope for salvation, something that was completely impossible in the previous life. You continue speaking, asking if her mother remembers her, but at that moment her expression changes again, and once more she leaves forward to finish the job. Man, this crazy girl shuts her eyes again, until suddenly a wave of ice surrounds her body. The Enant tells her she has to stop being stubborn, thinking that saying mother will bring her back to normal. With that he wraps the mother in ice and throws her far away. He grabs Yu's father and says he's seen a possibility, but it's time for everyone to get out of there. Yu asks what this possibility is. He says there's a small chance they can return her mother to normal, but that would only be possible if they obtain the rewards from the Jesuan City Challenge. Knows the Sky Will Group is giving it their all for that. At that moment the chubby guy says if there's a chance to save that woman, everyone will give their best. However, Yenin explains that with their current strength everyone would just die in that challenge. Kingra then asks how they will get stronger if there are no more stores to buy potions and it's too dangerous to go farming. He says there is a way, but he will need Mom's help. He tells her to get ready and for everyone else to stay at the base because today the two of them are going out. He knows of a place that in the previous life was known as the Alienation Park. It was a place that devoured many lives, but this time he would be the one to steal everything. Already in the central part of this park, still within the third ring. On the way, our boy receives a message saying that the people from the other base have finally reached them. This gives him a moment to check out the park. He tells Mumu to sense the plants in the area they are about to enter. She activates her technique on the ground. A blue energy begins to spread across the soil. She informs him that there are no plants above tier 4 nearby, however they have a problem. He asks what it is. She explains that in the middle of her ability there's a kind of black hole that can't be detected. This means there's no form of life there, which suggests that some creature must be absorbing everything. He responds that it's probably the case. Mu asks if they'll still proceed. He says that unfortunately the only way to get the treasure is to take that risk. No one's mentioning how her little creature is Now the size of a teenager, they walk around and nothing happens. Mumu says the area is strangely quiet at that moment. Our boy said as something's approaching. In an instant a giant snake appears in front of them. I'm already afraid of what the artist will draw, because you know what always happens when there's a snake, and she's about to talk about what she read in the book about snakes, but our boy says to focus on what's important. That thing was heading straight for them. As soon as it lunges, her teenage green creature goes after it. She comments that her almost adult companion even kicks the snake. Man, that snake is already dead. Her creature is really strong. Our boy realizes this creature has reached tier 4, so it seems Mumu took good care of him. He takes the snake's crystal, which adds toxic effects to the weapon that's equipped. They then continue walking through the park. As they walk, he notices the number of exotic plants around. She asks key plans to make evolution potions. He says he's not sure it's possible since it will depend on her. He shows one of the potions he bought and says that if she can understand the ingredients they can collect them from there and it'll be easy to produce. He extends his hand and activates the ring toward some plants. Mumu is motivated to do her best to help everyone get stronger. Some albino flowers begin to bloom and from them a bunch of eggs appear. Mumu finishes her analysis and says that most of the ingredients are indeed found in these mutant plants. Additionally, she still has that purified water she receives when she killed that tree. She was thinking of saving it for study, but now it's time to use it to help you. He then activates the glasses to take a closer look. Our boy knows very well what she's thinking, but at that moment something catches his attention. The plants seem to be emitting a strange pollen, and he already knows what's coming. Suddenly a series of attacks start surrounding him, but he just stretches out his arm and raises an ice barrier like in Free Fire, but those plants are tough and break through his wall. He realizes that these cursed plants are all tier 4, but even that isn't enough to take him down anymore. Ice shards rain down, slicing through all the mutated plants. With that there remains FA to round. However, Yenin seems to be waiting for someone to appear and asks how long they'll keep Stalin. At that moment a bizarre tree appears right in front of him. Arroy asks if a tree creature is really the king of that place, the one he's been waiting for a long time. He leaves forward, activating his sword, and says this fight will be more interesting than killing 100 of those trunks. Immediately the tree king counterattacks, but strangely Mumu yells for him to stop. Yanet is confused by the girl's outburst. She approaches and places her hand on the tree. She tells the king that they have no real intentions and are only searching for ingredients. The tree king doesn't seem too pleased, but she keeps insisting, saying it's for a good cause. The giant tree begins to tremble, shaking everything around. It seems her plea worked, as a few ingredients fall in front of them, including one that looks like an egg. Suddenly it begins to float and another almost teenager is born. Mumu explains that the fairy will keep an eye on them to make sure they only take what they need. The fairy says they're strong, but there's a creature in the region far stronger than them, so they should be careful. Our boy says he understands and will follow whatever rules she sets. However, he already knows that this creature is the Devourer, which was considered immortal in the previous life, but maybe with the help of this tree and considering that it hasn't evolved much yet, he might be able to defeat it this time. And obviously killing a creature considered immortal would be extremely beneficial, but before that they needed to gather the materials that would at least make them stronger. Since his ring is quite spacious, there's always room for more. Even the plant creature is impressed by the ring's vast space, a power she's never seen before. Maybe if she cooperates with that boy they could defeat the creature. As they gather materials, he remembers that the level of abilities is more important than a person's physical level, and considering this park is a place no one's visited yet, maybe there's a lost vendor around. He clears the area and tells him to move on to the next spot. At that moment the fairy says there's something she wants to discuss, and if it works out he could take as many materials as you wanted. Our boy knows that seeing his ring made her change her mind. He tells her it must be something really difficult. Even the generous offer. She explains that she wants them to team up to eradicate the Devourer, the monster in the center of the park. She mentioned a special gift and Mu asks what that would be. The fairy explains that she would give them the mutated core of wisdom that's inside her body. She tells Yenin that he must know how important that item is, even his forging profession. Seeing that even Yenin is left speechless, Mu realizes it must be something extremely valuable. Our boy asks if she's sure about giving it up. The creature says yes, she's lived so long that she's accumulated 3 of these cores and can part with one. Our boy says he'd accept, but he has one condition. First, if they defeat the creature he will keep The cores and crystal that come from it. With that, the three begin advancing through the forest. The fairy tells them to hurry up, saying they're falling behind, but Yannon replies that she only says that because she flies away whenever trouble shows up. Annoying, she responds that plants don't have that kind of heart and she cooperate even if she gets devoured. Mumu then asks what this core of wisdom is, since Yannon seems so interested in it. He explains that it's a god-level item that grants active evolution and even wisdom. Normally you can only get them from extremely intelligent creatures. The problem is that it's very hard to obtain an intact core because once you kill the creature most of the core disintegrates. Mumu says it must be really difficult to obtain. She understands that the core of wisdom is like the Brahm intelligent creatures. Curious, she then asks how strong this door must be for the creature to offer something so valuable. Anant says its strength is irrelevant because they can't afford to miss an opportunity like this. The fairy warns that they are about to enter the creature's territory. Moon notices that there seem to be fewer and fewer living plants on the ground. He tells her to focus on the mission and stop watching the ground. Most likely the creature they need to defeat is sleeping just ahead. Mumu, scared, says there could be countless creatures. As they can't tell what's ahead, the fairy tells them to calm down and not wake the creature, as the only way to win is to attack while it's asleep. She tells them to prepare because they're going in. Yannon says that's fine, but he has something to help. He summons the warhorse. He tells Mumu to stay with the horse and if anything happens just escape with it. Mumu hesitates, saying she doesn't want to leave him behind, but our boy insists, saying it's an order from the boss. She stays quiet, respecting our boy. Yannon then approaches the massive hole. The fairy explains that in the last fight with a creature she weakened its jaw, so that might be a good spot to aim for. He says he understands, and with that the two leap down. I thought it was a cave, but it turns out they fell into water and beneath them there's another huge hole. The fairy tells them to get ready because she can sense the creature's presence. At that moment a tier 5 hairy crab appears. Yannon notices that the creature is gigantic, much larger than normal. He's about to strike, but the fairy tells him to calm down. The creature's eyes are open because of its higher level, but it's still asleep. Moreover, a poorly PL attack would only wake the creature up. She tells him to follow her and says that if they break its armor with her first attack they might have a chance. She sneaks up from behind and points out its weak spot in the last fight. With this creature it was also level 5 of she ended up being defeated, falling to level 4 and losing her core of wisdom. But today was the chance for revenge, and all he needed to do was strike the creature's weak spot accurately. At that moment a bunch of branches rise up around the beast. The fairy transforms, telling them to finish it quickly. As she launches an attack at the crab, our boy charges forward, saying this is the perfect opportunity, but then he sees the creature open its eyes, seeming to wake up. However, even so one of the attacks hits perfectly. At least his blade manages to penetrate. Our boy tells the tree to keep pushing, and the tree says it's already using everything it has above. Mumu anxiously wonders what's happening. She sees a strange black figure moving and prays that Yannon returns safely. The creature starts thrashing about. Our boy realizes there's no way to stop this monster. The creature locks eyes with him. The tree tells him to flee before he dies, but at that very moment the crab goes in for a hug. However, the crappy boy had set a trap and leaps at the last second, dodging the attack and retrieving his sword. The problem is the creature breaks his sword. It grabs his leg, and now the fool is being pulled and he activates his ice power once again, saying it's his only option. The attack hits the creature's mouth just as it was about to eat him. The tree tells him to retreat. If he gets swallowed there will be no way to survive. But it seems our boy has become part of the feast. The tree panic screams for the human, realizing that once inside the creature's armored stomach there's no escape. The tree starts to fear for its own life. The crab leaps for the terrified tree, but right then a laser shoots out from its head. Now the crab is going to bleed. The tree, shocked, wonders if this is the human's doing and questions how he's still alive. Meanwhile, our boy, excited, says the plan was a success. It seems like today he'll bring some food home, as that bastard is quite tasty. The tree asks if he's really okay, as she saw with her own eyes that he was swallowed. He explains that it never actually happened since he has high mastery in forging abilities and ice control. He can create a clone of himself that can't move. When the crab grabbed his leg he hid and let the clone be swallowed, but then he hears another noise. It turns out the creature isn't dead yet. The tree says it's time to stop chatting and finish this once and for all. Our boy prepares 3 more ice attacks, saying that's All he has left, but it will be enough. The tree is impressed with how much energy the boy has, and now it's finally over. It's impossible for the crab to survive up above. Muhu stands still like a fool. The horse wants to jump into the river, but she says it'll be useless. It's better to wait for the boss. Suddenly the river's water rises. The Exian crab's body comes flying through the sky. The biology queen quickly recognizes as a hairy crab. The crazy girl thought she was going to fight it, but then she noticed it landed dead in front of her. Our boy emerges from the water exhausted. She asks if he's okay. Yanan sits down saying his clothes are wet and cold, but he survived. At that moment she asks if he'd like to wear her clothes. OTM Bear's boy asks if she really thinks that's appropriate, especially since it's a dress. He tells her to stop being silly and hurry up as they have more things to gather. The fairy then appears, is telling them to follow her because the core she promised isn't far away. They return to the original tree. The tree trunk congratulates him, saying it's finally an honor to meet him. Our boy isn't much for small talk and immediately asks where the core of wisdom is. Mumu is impressed by this tree, which is not only much larger than the tree king but also seems to have infinite life. A fairy emerges from the tree and tells them that this is the core of wisdom she promised. Mumu is eager to analyze it and discover what's inside. The fairy beside her is excited as well. Our boy puts the item in his pocket and the other fairy is shocked. The tree king tells him to show some respect. Such an item, a core, can't just be kept in a pocket. However, our boy explains that it's stored in a much deeper place. Strangely, both fairies blush. What an odd reaction. Our boy has to give each of them a little flick on the head to stop the jokes as they're about to leave. The tree tells him to wait, saying there's another deal to be made. Our boy asks what it is this time. The fairy then shows a golden item in her hand. The tree explains that he'd obtained that by killing a human who traded with a vendor in this place. Immediately our boy recognizes it as a tier 5 potion. Obviously interested, he asks what the tree wants. She responds that she has a feeling the boy will become very strong. She knows that he will likely become the sea of this place. That's why what she really wants is his blessing. Our boy realizes that this tree has great foresight. The tree seems to be admiring him, but in reality she has her eye on that sacred ring of his. It looks like he hands over an item which seems to be what she asked for, though it's unclear what it is. The tree then tells him that now that he has the core they can communicate over any distance. Our boy realizes this is basically her saying he's being watched at all times. It's right then that he receives a message on the loudspeaker asking if he can hear. It's his sister's voice and he asks what's wrong. She tells him that the Sky Will members have come for revenge and they are under attack. He hears an explosion and someone shouting that they're going to kill everyone there. Our boy tries to send a message but he doesn't get a response. Immediately says that bastard CH is going to die. Mumu says she knows they need to leave quickly, but she asks how they're going to win considering their enemies seem to have several masters. He remembers the item he just received from the tree. He knows that consuming it to evolve is extremely painful and many people die from using it. However, it's the only option he has, especially since last time he almost lost to that guy. The poor boy begins to scream in pain, telling himself that this revenge from his past life must finally come to an end. Mumu cries out for him, but he tells her not to come closer and thereby stays evolving like in Dragon Ball Z. The pain is the greatest he's ever felt in his life. Now he understands why so many die from using it. Man, the poor guy falls to his knees. Mew asks what's happening, but Yenin knows that those who survived this evolution become the strongest in the world. He starts to rise, saying he needs to survive this, and the artist thinks I'm not noticing, but with each panel Mumu is looking more grown up. At that moment she shouts, warning that a legion of zombies is heading their way. She tells her tree spirit to get ready and they'll need to defend Yenin, and she rushes in, kicking a creature, with her companion helping to kill the other zombies. The tree spirit is just watching it all. She says she's only worried about the infant's safety. What happens to Mumu isn't her problem, and at that moment a tier 3 zombie attacks her. She turns her arm to defend herself because the creature was too fast, but suddenly our boy, now powered up, comes in and delivers a kick straight to his chest. While the kick was so precise that the crystal popped out of its head. Our boy says that tier 3 creatures are now easy for him. He's going to deal with this quickly so they can return to the base. He unleashes a golden barrage piercing through several zombies while the boy is up. Now New is even a bit embarrassed seeing how much our boy has changed. He immediately returns, saying they need to hurry back to the base now. With a smile he says that with him at tier 5 they no longer need to fear those guys. Meanwhile back at the base it's chaos. Man, these girls are taking a beating for crying out. Loud Rayavyu tells the medic to run because she can heal herself, but the medic says that's the problem, if she encounters someone she won't be able to fight back. Poor dad has already lost an arm. Man, this fight is intense. Worst of all, Shah has already captured Kingu. He says that anyone who disobeys him will watch her die. Poor Yen El can't do anything. Suddenly a barrage of blue light comes, but Shao tells them to forget it, he's no longer rank 3. He fires a purple explosion in response. Man is poor dad who takes the full impact of the blast. Shoao says he reached level 4 thanks to a gift from their god. He then turns to King asking where her dear brother is, warning that soon everyone here will be dead. She tells everyone to help find her brother as they desperately need his help. The problem is her friends aren't in great shape either. Man, they're actually all getting wiped out, moving on to the next life. As always in the apocalypse, these guys can't resist going crazy. When they see a woman, Xia was celebrating, saying that following their god was indeed the best decision today. Scarlet Rose would finally die at his hands. The muscular guy, seeing Shilan on the ground, says that it's finally time to have some fun. You in pain says she wants to kill that bastard, but she's dying from the pain. Lino starts wondering where the boss is. At that moment an explosion happens and the foolish muscular guy is thrown far away. Our guy shows up, saving Sean and asking who dares to touch his people. Now the girls are emotional. Shah however celebrates his arrival and says that finally he'll see the guy, kneeling and begging for forgiveness. Can you thanks our guy, who tells him to rest a bit and not to fall in love. He asks him to go and hit those guys. He hands Shon over to Mumu and says that he's enough on his own now. The king tree spirit says it will help him once again, like he'll owe another favor. He says he understands and tells Zio that it's time to settle the score. The guy seemed to laugh, thinking he really believes he's enough to deal with all of them. The blonde guy questions whether he really thinks they're losers like T and Jen. He steps on the fat guy on the ground and says that if he has the skill he should try to get his foot off. The sword guy tells him to give up already because he got this tier for blade along with the wheel of heaven. He turns to CHL and says he'll handle this kid because last time he was embarrassed. He charges toward the protagonist, telling him to dream of winning again. The guy uses a clone technique, saying his head will fly. You is impressed that this guy is much faster than her father. However, to Yenjin 2.0 is too slow. The guy asks what he means by that, and with a movement of his arm our guy blocks the guy's blade. The guy is devastated, wondering how that's even possible, especially since he can't even see his own attack. Clearly our guy just redirects the blade's path. He then asks if the guy knows where his weakness is. He throws a punch, saying he's way too slow. Man, he hits him square in the belly. Wow, an explosion forms on his back. The poor guy turned into a firework. Man, the guy falls devastated, realizing he never had a chance to win. Meanwhile the rest of the group can't believe this is the same Yang Fan. As always, a more mature Momo thinks they haven't even seen Yang Fan's true power yet. Meanwhile the little tree is curious to know what the boy's limit is. He then faces the rest of the Wheel of Heaven members like a grim reaper. He asks who's next. The blonde guy already knows that if the sword guy didn't stand a chance, he's also going to die without doing anything. His goal now is to find a way to disappear from this place. After all, he's not interested in dying for this organization. However, Cho turns and tells him to fight the boy. He explains that he and the guy who just died were of similar strength, so he doesn't stand a chance either. But Shao says that if he takes one more step back, Lord Ling's curse will activate. Orc Shao himself will give him a terrible death. The poor guy remembers the Lord in between fighting Yenjin or being tortured to death. He prefers to engage in combat. He unleashes a purple attack called Sound Pillar. Our guy says that Sho is once again trying to kill his entire group. In the end, he's a boss that never changes. However, X replies that dying this way is an honor for them. At that moment the blonde guy triggers the Sound Pillar explosion, warning that no zombie has ever survived it. However, Yenjin doesn't seem too worried. The attack passes right over him, and once again the group stands there looking like fools, calling for their boss. The blonde guy celebrates, saying that no matter how fast the kid is, it won't do any good if he's evaporated like that. But when the smoke clears, our goo is unharmed. He says the attack is strong, sure, as it kicks up a lot of dust. The blonde guy is confused, wondering how the bastard is still standing and talking. Our guy just says that compared to a Herod crab, that attack was pretty weak. Now things get complicated for the blonde guy, because that was indeed his strongest attack. And there's not much left he can do. He glances back and sees Liu Chu passed out. His only chance is to take that guy hostage. He approaches and warns that if our guy takes another step, that fat guy will die. But our guy activates a power in his finger and asks if he's really that eager to die. The blonde guy prepares a spell and says that if anyone does anything else he's going to blow this guy up. Father shouts in fear of Liu dying, but at that moment two giant ice pillars hit the blonde guy in the chest. The poor guy is completely pierced and the pressure throws him backward. He falls to the ground like an idiot. Father all battered goes to the fat guy and our guy tells Shah that now that he has no more subordinates it's his turn. Shah, excited, says that the boy has indeed grown much stronger in a few days, but he shouldn't be underestimated. However, Yenfen says he's more eager to eat crab than to fight, but Shah reaches into his pocket and pulls something out. He says that the kid is going to pay for what he did now. Since defeating Anran wasn't going to be easy, he was going to use this treasure that cost him a lot of money that catches Yu's father's attention. It was a malicious power potion that exchanged lifespan for more strength. Yen Lu tells our guy to do something, but he responds that he'll let the guy drink that potion and die on his own. He knows that this potion takes you to the top of the rank you're already at, so even if he drinks it, he still won't stand a chance. Confident Sho drinks it in an instant. One of his eyes lights up red and he says he's finally feeling the power coming. Our guy knows he can kill him, but what he really wants is to capture this guy. Then he remembers something that happened in the fight against the hairy crab. When he killed it, a strange golden light started coming out of the body. He approached wondering what it was. He imagined it might be a crystallized core, but normally they don't have that shape. As soon as he touched it, a lot of energy seemed to be absorbed. Obviously he decided to store it in the ring because it seemed valuable. Back in the present, he thinks it might be a good idea. He extends his fist with the ring and in the same second Shah is already in front of him. As soon as he grabs Shao's fist, most of his power seems to disappear. The energy continues to be absorbed and Shia wonders what is happening. Our guy tells him to just give up on that power and transfer everything to him. Shia screams in desperation, saying he can't let things end this way, but the black hole core begins absorbing everything. The poor guy falls to the ground. Exhausted, Yenjin understands what that pearl is, a core that condensed the ability the crab possessed, but in the form of an item. Shao asks what he did since his powers have disappeared. Our guy shows the energy he stole and says that from now on it's his. Desperate, Shao asks for it back, but our guy says he's going to take revenge for the past life and take everything valuable from him. Of course Yo has no idea what this past life poke is about, but Yanin isn't going to chat much and delivers a fiery punch right to him. The poor guy is surrounded by a barrage of attacks. We fast forward 2 days later. Lin Mu is still working tirelessly to heal everyone. Yu's father is still talking about eating that hairy crab. Looks like that thing is never going to get done. Lin Mu then comments that she wishes she were stronger, so she'd stopped holding the boss back. RV comes, music. Squaggle Yu tells our guy that thanks to him everyone is smiling, but the guy is in a bad MV and says none of this matters since there will be more mutated creatures, there will be more food shortages and the monsters will only get stronger. But Yu says he has already ensured the safety of the 2 bases and should relax a bit. She's eager for the day they can finally get rid of this apocalypse. In then says that maybe with everything that's happened things will indeed get easier. Mumu then grabs everyone's attention and says she has the results from the day she went out with Yang Fun. They were special potions, one for each person that she and the boss had paired. Each potion was suitable for the one who needed it. You and the level 2 people got a 3rd stage potion. The pink-haired sister is sad because she wants to protect her sister, but now she's stronger than the poor thing. Mumu then explains that normally a potion requires various tests, but they don't have time or resources for that, which means she's not sure what will happen when they drink it. But excited Shun says they've been through so much so she won't be afraid of it. However, our guy says that anyone who's scared doesn't need to consume it since they'll find more normal potions in the future. The cowardly trash who are afraid of dying obviously say right away that they won't consume it. Then our guy tells his group that if anyone doesn't want to drink it they can say so. The fat guy says he doesn't care much about this advancement thing. Looks like he enjoys getting beaten up. The weirdo. Our guy then says that whoever isn't going to drink the potion should leave the room. The 3 cowardly trash run away immediately. You ask why he's letting them go when they need more power. However, our guy, being a good leader, says that he doesn't want to force anyone to become stronger or suffer. He tells everyone to drink except the medic, because Fuan feels sick. She'll be there to take care of them, but I think the artist forgot who the medic is because he had her drink it too. Outside, the useless ones are wondering what all the screaming is about. Looks like everyone is already drinking. The rabbit tooth guy asks if they're being seen as deserters now. The fat guy says he believes they only have one life, but there's always a chance to get stronger, says the scaredy cat. Meanwhile, at the Scarlet Rose gate, the bald guy is startled. He points his chest heater and warns that if a guy takes another step they'll attack, but the Joner-looking character says if they want they can shoot now, as he's here to relieve his anger. The idiots fire immediately, but in the same second the guy vanishes right in front of them. They have no idea the bastard is already behind them. He smacks the bald guy on the head and kicks the other one beside him, punches a wall right then, telling Yenjin to get out of this base. The whole place is shaking and they wonder what's going on. Our guy says it looks like someone's arriving and tells everyone to rest, with him being number 5 the others will just get in the way during the fight. He then turns and tells everyone that there's a gift for them under the table. The father looks and sees her box. Inside there are a bunch of green necklaces. These were items that also had an inventory inside, and the medic says there's something there. Meanwhile, the guy who invaded is walking through the coods wanting to know where the bastard who killed his nephew is. He decides that if the kid doesn't show up he'll bring down this whole base, but then someone tells Jansen to stop. It's our guy who arrived with 2 fools who apparently want to die. The guy turns and says if they know his name they know why he's here. He stretches out his hand and says that Lord Lingen invites him to the Wheel Heaven base. Actually, the guy throws a card into the air and our guy asks what that's for. Danon explains that it's an item that protects his life, and now that he's loaded with treasures there are tons of people from Dwin who want to come here and attack him. He warns that it's best for him to swear loyalty to Lord Zulon, or he'll be killed in the final challenge. However, Gangan just returns the card saying he doesn't want their help. Besides, he's going to be the winner in the arena. Sanction seems to think our guy is pretending to be strong. At that moment he catches the card in the air, but he feels something strange. Our guy had thrown it with force and the fool was dragged halfway down the corridor just holding the card. Our guy warns that it's best he disappears quickly if he doesn't want to start a war. He knows that in that arena a lot of people died, and it's also the reason the Wheel of Heaven became one of the 5 biggest forces in the world, but this time everything they possess will belong to him. He then heads to the back of the Scarlet base and tells the guys not to let anyone approach without his order. Now that the enemies have come to his door, the plan will have to be initiated a bit earlier. First he needed to remove any impurity from the environment to make the forge perfect, and now, with the crab item, is time to swallow everything. The war will begin in 7 days and he's already handed out those rings filled with items to everyone. He knows that besides the main leader of the Wheel of Heaven there are 3 other people he hasn't met yet who are extremely strong. He seems to trust you, her father's friend, and Schwan, that red-haired girl, as well, while he will have to deal with the king of the Wheel of Heaven himself. He then begins to pull out all the items he's been collecting from the ring. It was time to try using a forging skill to unlock the fusion ability. This is a rare skill that some forge users have, however, since his ability has no limit, maybe he can evolve to that level. Even though it's risky, he's going to go all in. After all, the guy from the Wheel of Heaven was considered a god in his past life. He tries to combine 2 items and realizes they seem to be repelling each other. That explosion happens in front of him. The poor guy is thrown against the wall. It seems those 2 abilities couldn't be merged, and worse, his body was being invaded by that energy. Our guy is now coughing up black oil. He falls to the ground, weakened. His forging and ice powers were also starting to fight each other inside his body. At that moment something begins to emerge from the ground. The panda appears and explains that he'll only be able to merge 2 energies if they're symbiotic. He wouldn't be able to put 2 different energies into his body. Our guy then asks what he should do. The little plant grabs the absorbing item. She tells him that if he removes the ice creator ability from his body maybe he'll be able to merge the others. Our guy asks if she's really going to help. After all, he knows that if she starts pulling his powers he might die in the process. She responds that he can either trust her or die. On the day of the tournament, hearing that Yenjin decides to accept immediately, she starts pulling all this ice power out. She remarks that it's incredible you can actually handle 2 powers from different dimensions. That's extremely strange. He realizes that the pain he was feeling has really eased, so what she said was true. Our guy tells her to give him the core of wisdom and the 3 power orbs, but the cheeky plant just asks what happens if she doesn't. Friend says she won't leave the light if she doesn't. She just laughs, saying that would be interesting. Then she hands them over, saying that in the end him getting stronger also benefits her. With that, She returns the items now with them. He's sure that the forge can't fail. He gathers the three in his hand saying that the fusion will succeed. A Dragon Ball's aura starts emanating from him and the plant says this energy reminds her of the first time she mutated. Suddenly a green glow begins to emanate from his body. He's confused for a second and she asks if by any chance he failed. Seeing the energy in his hand he says no. Our guy then lets out a loud shout. Smoke rises and he tells them to get up. The guy has turned into Sun Jin Woo and summon an army. Now he has an army of fire ice warriors. It's kind of contradictory, but oh well. The little plan says she's never seen a power like this before. Man, the kid thinks he's in Game of Thrones now, sitting on the throne like a fire eye king of tier 5 with a whole army, very solo leveling style in front of him. Now the guy is pumped, and with that 6 days past tomorrow is the day of the final challenge in the arena. A bunch of zombies are running. The Dan Chenu is walking through the city tracking everything around. Everyone is excited thinking they'll get to kill a bunch of level 2 and 3 creatures. It tells them to stop being so excited and start killing the creatures. The poor guy is about to take a hit from behind. His power to force the creatures to obey seems to be failing, but a bolt of lightning strikes the zombie. Yanl appears now at tier 4 at the peak of the Soul Lightning King, and Chenu tells him to stop introducing himself and just kill the creatures. Already us little robot had also reached tier 4 and she was already at the pinnacle of mechanics, telling them to gather those cores quickly so they could send them to the boss. Her father was just fuming that his daughter only ever thinks about that damn guy when suddenly the whole brown starts shaking. Ken you worried asks what's happening. Man Mu's teenager had turned into a giant. She apologizes saying that Shua got a little stronger than she expected. Everyone thinks she looks more like a boss than the actual bosses. X1 tells everyone to hurry up and gather the crystals because their success depends on it. Everyone seems super motivated. Sometime later in the secret part of the underground base, our girl explains that in this challenge you can only take 4 people with him. Mumu confused asks why. After all, everyone's been getting stronger, and with fewer people they're at greater risk. Yu agrees saying that if they're separated the risk of ambush increases, but Yenjin explains that in this final challenge the more people they take the more will die. It's better to take only those who can handle themselves. You say she doesn't remember anything like this happening in the past life. Everyone speculates why this is happening. Our girl just says that this challenge is special, and for those staying at the base there's an extremely important task. He says his sister wants to organize the base and she responds that she's not afraid of the challenge and wants to go with him. She's grown enough and doesn't need his protection anymore. She's afraid of waking up one day and not having him by her side anymore, but our guy says she doesn't understand that the mission they have is extremely important. They'll need to find a place to open their new base. King asks why she has to be part of this mission. Our girl explains that this base needs to be set up near where their relatives are. That's where she realizes she's the only person besides our guy who has a chance of recognizing them. Danran explains that he knows of a region right in the middle of where many merchants appear. Everyone gets excited saying that a place like that seems like the best choice. At that moment the guys from the old Scarlet Rose ask what the new base will be called. Yang says the base will be called Shingu and it will guide them to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. The canon is all impressed. They never imagined the idea of rebuilding a new world, and the girls are all emotional saying he truly is the new hope for this world. He then explains that Mumu and Zone will be the two responsible for building the base. Kun stands up a bit embarrassed, clearly wanting to participate in the fight and dedicate her life to her master. However, our guy just hands the map to Mumu. She asks if he surely can handle this, knowing that if he gave them the map it shows they're not fit to fight in the arena. Our guy says he's not sure if they'll succeed, but he knows they're the ones he can count on. Shirin had great leadership skills and Mumu had her creature to help and was also very smart. Both of them feel a little bashful after being praised by the boss and don't have the courage to go against what he said, so they agree saying they will build the new Zingo base. Our guy then calls Yen Lianushon and Mr. Mu. These 4 would go to the challenge with him, while the rest would help with the new base. With that, the planning meeting was over 8 hours before the big challenge begins. Sham is holding the map where our guide marked the location for the new base, and Muma reminds them that they should never give up on each other. Meanwhile, on top of a tower, our guy's watching them leave, thinking that from now on everything depends on them. The place he chose for the base is where the Wheel of Heaven will want to build theirs, but in 10 years, but that doesn't matter, since they're about to disappear from this world. It Was time for them to begin as well. The team is excited, saying they can't wait to teach those bastards a lesson. Our guy warns that the first step is to put them in the shadows. With a stomp on the ground, energy spreads in 4 directions and suddenly his solo leveling army begins to rise. Of course no one has any idea what's going on. Everyone wonders how he's creating these shadow creatures. It looks like the artists who just went all in, since they were supposed to be ice creatures, but now they've turned into shadow ones. He comments on how these creatures are immortal, and Shone asks if they risk dying in this challenge. He says it's possible and mentions that he knows some creatures will appear out of nowhere during this challenge. Also, people are selected for a life or death fight. They could face off against the Wheel of Dreams or even against him. You've asked if there's any way to avoid them fighting each other. Our girl says that's where the shadows come in, since he would connect one of these shadows with each person. Everyone would be identified as part of him. He knows this because in his past life someone used a similar strategy. The problem is he's not entirely sure it'll work, but at least they'll calm everyone down. Yanel says the creature isn't as good as he is, so he'll keep it hidden, and Yu says she'll save it from when she needs a shield in a critical moment. Sean sees hers as a knight and immediately understands that it's because she's not a combatant. Now everyone is ready. Our guy jumps over the railing. He lands on the ground and says that from now on he'll explain the people they need to keep an eye on in that base. They are known as the Four Saints, and the main goal is for none of them to die in the end. The group agrees. The scene shifts to the center of the first ring in Jan City. The rare challenge vendor is standing there. Our guy group approaches with all the swag, and our guy says that now everything's about to begin. They approach the peak of the mountain. Yenle says it's strange that the Wheel of Heaven people haven't arrived yet, when suddenly a strange energy passes through. Everyone feels pressure on their bodies and wonders who's arriving. Our guy stands firm. He says it's the ability of a girl named Shunmin, which he warned them about. It's a tier 5 power. The girl approaches, warning that no one can raise their head in front of the king, and the entire team from that base appears before them. A bunch of nobodies with names I'm not going to bother reading one by one. The white-haired guy is zoning in the king of their base. Finally the gravity fades. The girl says that since the king doesn't want them to disappear, she'll cancel the power. Our guy's group realizes they're being disrespected and that these people are much stronger than they imagined. Zolingen approaches our guy and apologizes for his subordinates being a bit rude. He says that the remaining humans on this planet need to unite for everyone's survival, but Yenjin just stands there with his hand in his pocket, all cool. The other guys are angry at the disrespect, but no, they can't do anything for now because they need as many participants in this place as possible. Yenle thinks that our guy must be furious, but it's not worth acting out at the moment. With that he extends his hand and says he hopes everyone gets what they're looking for today. The guy agrees and says it's time to begin. Zainin approaches the vendor and tells him to open the crystal. The vendor extends his hand and says something incomprehensible. A golden energy begins to emanate from him. A digital portal appears in front of everyone. Lingyu looks back and wishes everyone good luck. Meanwhile, inside the place a creature wonders why it's smelling humans. Various different creatures are walking through the forest. The green guy seems to have just awakened. Then a black sheep comes up to him. The guy slaps it. Whoa! He pulls out its heart, wondering if it's human. An energy then crashes into the middle of the forest. The portal starts to appear and in front of it's already full of creatures waiting, or rather the creatures are entering it. I thought our guys were going there. The green guy is looking at it, wondering if crossing it could turn him into a human. That same portal appears in another place. It's said to be the path for devouring creatures, but they were just food for them. And there is our guy also standing in front of the portal. The energy coming from this so-called final challenge arena was much greater than he expected, but obviously he's not going to give up now that he's come this far. The ground begins to tremble and a flaming window appears welcoming him to the nightmare battle. He'll be transported to 3 realms and given 3 missions with rewards. Each challenge would be great, and the person with the highest score would receive the greatest reward. Additionally, whoever ranks at the top will receive the love of God and uncover the truth of this world. Yenjin already suspects that it's because of this love of the gods that the Wheel of Heaven base evolved so much. Afterwards suddenly he teleports and appears in the army. He says there are 2 entrances to this place and 7 people participating along with 376 mutants. Our guy finds himself wondering how he ended up in a desert. All of a sudden at that moment another portal appears beside him. Zanin emerges and asks if our guy has changed his mind about joining them or if he's just looking to die. Yenran replies that it's a coincidence because he also thinks Xanon is looking to die. Xanon retorts that they've been putting this off for too long and no way is he letting Yongfen have the love of God, but Yongfen replies that no one's certain of anything yet. Suddenly a circle of flames surrounds the two and Xanon warns that they're coming. The ground begins to explode, and a horde of desert creatures starts to emerge while other portals open and people begin pouring out of them. The girls as always are all lost, not expecting there to be so many people in one place. Our guide notices that these creatures appearing indicate there's another portal somewhere leading here as well. A welcome message pops up telling them the goal is to stay alive and kill the Sand Lord. Yengon has never heard that name before. Everyone knows that considering how vast this place seems, splitting up might not be a good idea. Suddenly the entire ground starts shaking. The creatures come forward but they seem a bit sluggish, moving at 2 miles per hour. Xanon tells all the humans to group up as the priority for now is survival. Everyone agrees, saying splitting up would be the worst thing to do right now, but suddenly the ground starts shifting. A giant mouth emerges behind the first fools. A bald guy jumps and manages to escape, but the girl, who's about to get bitten, begs for help, saying she'll do whatever he wants. The bald guy, of course, just calmly watches. She keeps pleading for help but he turns away and just says goodbye, and with that she's devoured. The snake keeps gliding through the desert. It seems that's the Sand Elle with extremely unpredictable attacks. The fact that it disappeared right after killing someone suggests it might have some kind of cooldown time. The bald guy feels sad for letting the girl die, but he knows that if the situation were reversed she wouldn't have helped any. Our guy just observes that the girls who entered there are in deep trouble and this place being beautiful won't help at all, and soon enough they'll be dead too. At that moment a window appears in front of him. It says he has 3 points in total and tells him to keep up the good work. He begins to deduce that the stronger the creature the more points it gives. What's strange is that he earned a point for the girl being eaten. This shows that if other people die, he'll probably get more points too. He just hopes things aren't too difficult for his friends. The bald guy receives a message that the 10 people with the highest scores will survive. The white-haired girl already realizes that if that's the case she'll need someone's help. The pant guide on the other hand seems pleased with the news that killing humans earns points. Suddenly everyone hears something approaching from behind. A giant bear is closing in on the group. The black-haired girl warns them to be careful as the Lord could appear any moment. And another fool wonders why the Lord doesn't just eat this snake. Wall grabbed her by the leg. The poor girl is already wrapped up as she's being pulled. She cries for help but of course everyone is running away. In a battle where few survive, the more people die the better for the rest. But suddenly someone jumps. It's Jansen playing the hero man. He strikes the snake's skull. The poor thing collapses shattered. Everyone is shocked at how easily he defeated a tier 3 creature. However, Yenjin finds it strange. He remembers that in the past life this guy killed people without mercy. As he picks up the girl in his arms he tells her not to be afraid. She smiles brightly and says she admires him and that he's so handsome. Obviously she's planning to stick with the strong guy to survive, but in reality he says he won't leave any points for other species. The girl is confused, and he blows her head off. Man, this guy is definitely not good. He turns to everyone and says that only he can kill them as they also count for 3 points each. Everyone is terrified and the bastard is really in first place. Now things get complicated for Yongfen because Jansen didn't gain points from the creature but from killing the girl. This shows that the intentions of this game are far worse than he thought. Everyone gives Jensen a terrified look and starts running, shouting that there's a madman here. He calls out to Yongfen and says that together they could kill everyone and take the points from this place. At that moment a guy looks at our guy and says that being friends with Jinan is a good reason to run from him too. Our guy realizes that this guy is trying to pull a trick on him but it's ridiculous. Danon then looks at the girl and says she seems smart but she won't survive if the Sand Lord shows up again. She starts running towards him knowing she can't win. Dekshan asks where she's running off to and the poor girl already knows it's the end for her, but suddenly something rises from the ground. A carnivorous plant appears out of nowhere and at the same time Jansen gets caught by it. Man, as he's trapped a mantis comes at him. There's an explosion and when the smoke clears he seems unharmed. He says that this bunch of low-level creatures stands no chance against him. He knows that his only real problem in this place is Yenjin, who he wants to kill to contribute to the Wheel of Heaven. It's just a shame that he can't guarantee victory directly, so he'll have to wait For the right moment everyone is fleeing and he's just waiting for the sand orb to appear. At that moment a zombie tries to punch our guy Yen and dodges and freezes its face, as always just collecting crystals, but suddenly a crab comes up behind him. He throws an ice attack and easily finishes another one. Then someone appears behind him and says he's so skilled that he could be recommended. Our guy sees the hooded man and asks who they are. The man says he's from the Magic Cloak group and their leader is a rank 5 awakened. Our guy says he's heard of this group's reputation as nothing but a bunch of criminals. The cloaked man says it seems he already knows them, but warns that in this post-apocalyptic world everyone is like them. He should join the group and together they could create whatever world they want. After all, this is a place where you could die at any moment. Why not live life to the fullest and indulge in all desires? Arbai politely declines the offer and says that no matter the times, harming others is always a filthy act. Grabbing his teeth, the man says this morality will lead him to his death. He jumps at Yenjin, saying that he'll become an obstacle to the leader, so they'll die together. The man throws himself at our guy full of bombs strapped to his sides. Our guy says that if he's going to show off what he's got on his body, at least be a woman, but the man isn't joking. He gets closer and says it's the end for both of them. However, at that moment our guy just snaps his fingers. The fool was charging straight at him when an ice block started forming beside him. The fool gets trapped in an igloo. That's when he realizes he messed up. Our guy says he never claimed to be an ethical person, and with that the poor fool blows himself up. Young friend says it's good to be reminded of that organization and he's eager to eliminate them. The system window pops up. Our guy earned 3 points, but that bastard Jansen already has 9. Then Jansen appears from behind saying he's already taking care of the weaklings. He's only keeping that girl alive to use his bait for the Sand Lord. At that moment the ground begins to tremble. Zin says it looks like you and the boss is eager for this to end. He throws the woman to the ground saying the food is arrived, but the boss seems to adore the bait. He head is toward them, clearly too smart to fall for trap. Looks like they enjoy standing still because the big mouth is already in front of them. Danon realizes this is the perfect chance he's been waiting for, and he comes to strike Yenin from behind. However, everything was part of our guy's plan. Suddenly Jansen is startled. He finds himself alone face to face with the snake. At least his punch hurt, though. The boss immediately retreats underground. Our guy asks if Shanin was trying to kill Hen War. The boss Danon claims he would never try to kill him, since he's invited to join their group. However, Yenjin approaches, but just then the boss starts advancing again. Our guy says that since Jansen punched it, he's now the target, so he better get ready. Jansen keeps a straight face, saying that once they defeat the creature together they'll be able to leave, but obviously he has no intention of letting Anon live. The monster opens its jaws but doesn't eat the girl with tears in her eyes. The poor thing begs not to be killed. Xanon says that when the creature bites, the jump in and deliver a full force attack. The girl gets swallowed up. Ma Yin's being ruthless too. He didn't even help her, and so she's devoured. As soon as she dies, he unleashes a barrage of ice. Vanin comes from behind saying Yang Fan will not pay with his life. Our guy pretends to be surprised and an explosion rocks the entire desert. Janine, thrilled, says he's finally killed that idiot, but then he realizes he hit a shield. Even stranger, behind him there's a mysterious black figure. Man, that figure stabs him. Yenjin is just off to the side watching. He says he knew from the start that Chan should never plan to join forces. Strangely acts like he's in grade school. Asking how Yen knew, Yen replies that at his level he can sense people's killing intent. The moment Jansen stepped into that place he felt the unease in his heart. Jansen laughs maniacally, saying he never imagined something like that existed. Anon asks why Jansen wants to kill him, considering the boss ordered him out too. His Anon falls to his knees. Because Yenjin killed his nephew, he remembers that OBL Shah from when he was a kid. He loved the boy and said he grows strong one day. They're giving us this backstory as if we're supposed to care, but clearly no one cares. Just killed the sicko already. Back in the fight, Janine says Yenjin could never understand what he's been through. He lunges at him telling him to die, but the shadow figure just slashes him. Man, it was a whip to the chest. He falls like a piece of trash. Seriously, that was weak. Our guy's shadow is Knob Joke and the madman starts hallucinating Shah. Meanwhile, Yenjin watches the Pcho passed out, and strangely Yenjin says he takes back his words and that Jansen does deserve some respect. Not sure what respect he means after Jansen threw everyone to die for the snake, and speaking of which, the snake appears behind him at that moment. Now he'll have to handle it alone to finally finish this first round. Suddenly system window pops up. Our guy realizes he's gained all the points Jean was carrying, and now it's time to Deal with this. The boss lunges at him, he dodges, but the creature dives back into the sand. He finds it odd that the creature is only using physical attacks considering it's the boss. He summons some giant ice crystals, saying it's time to discover its true potential. Man, a snake is a goalie grabbing all his crystals. Our guy realizes that in terms of reaction time and speed his creature is on another level, and at that moment it comes in for a bite, but confident he pulls out his Minecraft sword. Man, a second later he's flying Goku style on the dragon. The snake is all twisted trying to find him. He notices it's acting like a bull trying to shake him off. Too bad's frozen its feet, so shaking him off won't be easy. He runs along its body saying that if this were 7 days ago it might have had a chance, but that's changed. Everyone's creatures are mutants and it's time to figure out if hers is too. Once again, she comes in for a bite. He prepares his spell in his hand and creates an ice block inside her mouth. Man, he even throws in a chain. Where is all this coming from? KPA. In the end, intelligence is the big difference between beasts and humans. He's going to win for the simple reason that she lacks wisdom. That's why they won't be replaced by machines either. Tell that to Chad BT. Our guide pulls out a spear saying he knows the main weakness. He hits it right in the eye, making her go blind. Now she's wobbling, sliding to the side. Just one more attack and he knows she'll be completely blind, bringing victory within reach. But finally she uses something other in a physical attack and unleashes a solar power. Now things are tricky for our guy who's midair. The snake fires off the attack and he stretches out his hand, activating the shield. Man, these free fire barriers are way too OP. No wonder he's the king of headshot, but he was shaken. The snake's attack was extremely fast, and he barely avoided getting blown up. Looks like he'll have to take this seriously as well. He shouts rise, summoning everyone to appear. Solo leveling style, the shadow army charges forward. The little snake isn't dumb. The moment she sees that swarm of shadows she starts running in panic. Our guy gets angry, calling this snake a coward, but suddenly something begins to form beneath his feet. The ground turns into quicksand. He can't break free and his shadows are all swallowed up. Once again that immortal snake reappears to take a bite. The problem is that this quicksand is different from normal. It's exerting much more pressure, and our guy's creatures approach, saying they'll save him, but our guy just orders them to return to the shadows, saying this isn't a problem. He prepares his fist, but almost gets hit by a laser. Man, that annoying snake won't leave him alone. Our guy notices is that the snake seems to be laughing at him, and worse of all, he's sinking and about to die. Without knowing what to do, that snake knew more than he thought. Now in suffocating heat, unable to move a muscle, he wonders why he didn't take this more seriously. The sensation of near-death starts to fill his body. Suddenly he begins to have strange memories. A chubby kid slumped against the wall, someone demanding money. Looks like our guy was part of a gang. He wasn't the nerdy kid after all. A chubby kid, desperate, says he doesn't have any money, but our guy grabs the backpack, saying if there's nothing in it he's not holding on to it. He smacks him on the head and rips it from his hands. Out of the bag falls a cute little teddy bear, and the chubby kid says not to mess with his doll. Man, he gets stomped on the hand. The bald guy rubs his foot while the chubby kid rides in pain. Looks like it was already the apocalypse, because the bald guy said that doll must be worth a lot. He tells the chubby kid that if he has a doll like that he must have more money stashed somewhere. The poor kid doesn't respond and the bald guy stomps on his foot again. Our guy, the gang leader, says they should just sell the doll and they'll have money to go play some games again, while he thinks about giving the doll to King's youth, thinking she'll love it. But then someone shows up and tells them to stop hurting her brother. A girl more dead than alive says that if they don't leave her brother alone she'll beat them all up, but the chummy kid says they're just playing and tells her to go away. The sister says that this game seems to be causing him a lot of pain. The poor guy gets stomped on again and says it's hilarious. The bald guy agrees, saying they're going to have a lot of fun. I don't know what's going through our guy's mind as he just stands there saying nothing, and the desperate sister tells them to stop hurting her brother. Then she trips over a rock. Man, off she goes Paralympic style. Well, this fall is going to be bad. Yep, I think she's dead. Her brother, desperate, pulls a flash move and sees her falling. The bald guy says the girl is stupid for diving into the water with crutches. Our guy was about to tell them to call the adults to save her, but the bald guy slaps him, saying if they do that they'll get in trouble with that. They all run off, saying she jumped in on her own, so it's not their problem. Meanwhile, the chubby kid is on the shore calling out for aid. Our guy approaches and tells him to find someone to help, but he says it's too late. By the time anyone comes she'll already be dead. And there goes another deer. Our guy just watches, wondering what kind of crazy brother This is the girl is calmly floating there. Her brother approaches saying he's going to save her. He pulls her and seems like she's a professional swimmer, definitely Paralympics material. The brother tells her not to worry, he'll take her back home, but then her leg gets caught in the weeds. Man, he says she's going to be pulled down and die. Honestly though, can't you just step and research this? He asked our guy for help saying there's a plant wrapped around her leg. The problem with that river is that it's incredibly fast. Our guy is scared to go in and die never seeing his family again, so he turns away saying he doesn't even know how to swim. The two are desperate, brother and sister almost gone, they both get submerged. The truth is our guy knew how to swim, he was afraid of death, that's why he couldn't save them, but now he remembers the present. Everyone calls him boss, this guy can't die like this. Determined, he's ready to invoke his protagonist powers, and here comes the snake for another bite. He tells himself that if he dies here no one will save the people he loves. He absorbs all the sand into his ring just as the snake is about to bite, and at that moment he activates the Judgment Day Ice Flame. These names are getting bigger and so is the power. Man, I don't get it. He creates a bubble and jumps right on top of the snake who's suffering. He lands a blood to her neck, and just like that the snake became sushi. Our guy says he won because he simply cannot lose. A truly genius line. Congratulations. The dimension begins to collapse and Yenjin wants to know where his reward is. B window pops up informing him that as the sole survivor he would get everything left in that place. He receives a Lu World Fruit, a card that returns to its original position, and a universe key that needs 3 more parts to be complete. He seems to remember something about this key fragment, probably related to that love of God item. Some flames start to rise from his body with time return to the beginning. As soon as he reappears he's worried about how the others are doing. He pulls out a communication device to check what's happening. Yu says that her world is full of zombies but she's managing. Kellen says that thanks to the shadow he gave her she's surviving, and that one guy who I still don't know the name of says he also passed the challenge. However, our guy hasn't heard from Yen Lu. He calls for him but there's no response shown, suggests that maybe Yen Li's headset broke during the fight, and the nameless guy says Yen Lu is stronger than him so he must have survived. Our guy then tells everyone to focus on their tasks, confident that Yen Lu is strong enough. Just then the window for the second challenge appears for everyone. He tells them to proceed quickly so they can meet again, and in his usual style, arms wide open, the second round was finally about to begin. Yu, whether she wanted to or not, was worried, hoping her father would show up soon. She even tells her not to stress about it yet. She calls out to Yongfan and says she wants to ask something, but it seems her guy has already left, hasn't he? Yu tells Shon she can tell her, and Shon asks why she wants to keep something secret from Yongfan. Tio Yen says that Mumu asked you to help the protagonist and make sure he survived. He responds that's obvious, she'll do her best in this place. Then Shon drops a bomb revealing that the items Yongfit has cannot bring Yu's mother back. That's because after analyzing her mother's blood it seems she's no longer human now. It's awkward. Dropping that on her was pretty harsh. Heen says she'll wait for her in the next challenge, and Yu agrees. Poor Yu is devastated. She doesn't know where her father is, and now she has no chance to save her mother. She doesn't want to hate Yengon because she knows he only lied to prevent her from being sadder. You'd think this would break her spirit, but instead she gets motivated, saying that with a leader who cares so much she can't let him down. A tornado of flames suddenly rises in the middle of a coliseum. There's our guy as swaggy as ever. Considering this place's traditions, he wonders if the boss this time will be a Khalees fighter. Some flames start to appear and he wonders who will emergency this time. 3 HED guys appear saying they seem to have gotten lucky, but Ganon is calm, thinking they're too naive if they think they'll beat him. 4 more flames up around him. Man, the guys are already jumping in to finish him off, and he realizes this situation is quite similar to the last one. The guys say that he's not moving. You must be terrified, while our guy is just thinking that these points are practically running to him. He summons his solar leveling shadows to deal with the fools. Man, 1 slap to the neck, but strangely this time he doesn't seem to gain points for finishing the guy. Just then 2 more people show up. 2 blonde girls comment that the bloodbath has already started and they like a strong big brother. Our guy feels a bit awkward with these girls being so forward. Then 2 more people appear. The blonde guy says it's good to know he's with Yongfin and these 2 beauties, asking for everyone's help, while the green work questions if everyone here is human, saying he wishes he could be human too. Everyone's just watching the green guy. At that moment the system window appears, and the girls are confused. This time it seems to be about cooperation. Our guy is just Observing the message tells him to choose 3 people to survive and he'll meet the god of the end of the world. Apparently this time the goal is to eliminate players until only 3 remain and together they'll face the final boss. The problem is he has no idea who the best choices are. The girls suddenly suggest getting rid of the strange green guy first and then they'll decide the rest. The blonde guy asks when they decided that the 2 of them would survive. They say that if one of them dies the other will take her own life, leaving only 2 people, and maybe the boss won't activate. The other girl in the tight outfit assures him that surviving with them is a good time. The blonde guy says he never expected to be threatened like this. Then he turns to Yang Fan and says the best option is to kill him and the green guy, but just then the green hand appears. The fool gets skewered for the chest and the big green guy continues saying he's eager to kill and become human. The girls comment that it seems the numbers are dropping faster than expected, but the blonde guy says it's not so easy to kill him. The guys are body structures similar to a human, so he knows when the weaknesses are. The blonde guy tries to land a hit on the creature's head, but the monster dodges. The creature says it likes strong people, so soon they'll kill him. The blonde realizes this weirdo is much smarter than he thought. He tells Yannon that the green monster is from another species and suggests they kill it together first, but as always his real plan is to kill Yang Fun. During the fight Yang Fun asks why he would team up against his target. The blonde explains that if a creature kills him it will evolve and not even Yang Fun will be able to handle it. That's because he's tier 5, meaning he'll give the creature a lot of experience. The girls comment that a tier 5 person would indeed be the best nourishment for that creature. Our guy gets thoughtful. The green bee charges at the blonde saying he'll kill him and become. The blonde steps in and says he'll reveal his ability. It's called Death Premonition, and as long as he's near the opponent he can find the perfect spot to finish them off. Watching the creature he says its weak points are in the temple and the eye, and just then the beast comes in for a hit. But our guy appears behind it with a flaming blade. He tells the blonde that since he was honest he'll take out the beast first, but when he slashes the creature ducks to dodge. Our guy says that it looks like he'll need to call for some help. He summons his solo leveling shadows to strike from behind. With that the creature is immobilized and the blonde guy gets excited. The green monster wonders if it's really going to die in such a pathetic way, and apparently we're about to get a flashback. Looks like this creature was trapped in a room full of zombies. Everyone inside was begging not to be eaten. Amidst all the bodies was a strange red thing. It turns out it was an egg, and this annoying kid hatched from it. Just then a zombie charges at him. Man, the kid just hatched, but he's already getting bit. However, the zombie's tooth breaks, and what's this? The kid punched the zombie in the head. As soon as he was born he pulled out the famous human knowledge core and ate it. What was going on in the memory? The kid already looked 20 years old. He was eating boars around the world, killing tigers with his bare hands. The zombies didn't stand a chance. All they wanted was to become a real human. I'm not sure if they're trying to make us feel sorry for this green guy, especially since he just took a hit to the head. That's why I barely pay attention to these flashbacks. Come on. But actually, while getting hit in the head the creature managed to stab the blonde. The monster says that for his mother's sake he has to become human. Well, he's absorbing the blonde guy's energy. Now things are bad for our guy. So watching the fight asks Chunu if he plans to save this guy. The old man says he'd never get involved for a mutt like that. His secretary just says she understands, but suddenly he grabs her arm, pulls her onto his lap and says they're much more relaxed than the people fighting. Since he's a bit angry she'll have to help him calm down. Strangely she says she's the old man's man. Seems like there's more to this girl than meets the eye. Meanwhile the green guy keeps advancing, saying he's about to become human to him as long as he continues absorbing. He'll soon reunite with his mother. Our guy, seeing that the creature can now form more complex sentences, realizes that the monster has truly evolved. He calls in his whole army. Unfortunately he'll have to protect the girls too, because if the creature keeps absorbing more people things will only get worse. He creates an army around the 2 girls, who comment that even if they tried it would be impossible to resist someone like the creature. Without hesitation our guy charges at the beast, saying he's going to land a hit right in the middle of its forehead, but his sword strike does nothing. Our guy's trembling all over. What's this? His blade forged with secret abilities broken half. He's confused at how strong this monster is. The green guy says that apparently he's the strongest one here, so once he consumes Yannon he'll definitely become human. He lunges at him, demanding his brain. The monster unleashes a flurry of attacks, but our guy keeps dodging at the Same time Shikamar's style, he sends a shadow to the side which appears with a blade to cut the creature's arm, but the green guy just slashes the shadow. Our guy uses this moment to retreat from a distance. He conjures up his ice barrier, he sends it forward telling the monster to die. But what's this? The creature uses a tree and starts wrapping everything up. The girls start getting scared thinking the monster will win. One of them winks with a smile and says it's good if he wins or else they'll die there. One girl asks if she's afraid of death and the other says that as long as she's by her side she fears nothing. What is this? They're having a cheerful moment in the middle of the arena. Let's focus on the fight please. Meanwhile our guy is thinking of a strategy to beat the green guy. He begins concentrating energy in his arm. He creates a bunch of ice shards infused with that ice flame and sends them at the monster. But the creature just says the same attack won't work twice. But this time Yenjin seemed confident. The monster's roots started to fall apart. Yenjin said he found the weak point and launched a barrage of the green creature. The problem is now the poor guy is exhausted. He knows that creatures who grow with resentment have the potential to become extremely powerful. In his past life this type of monster required the help of several bases to be eliminated. The sword-wielding secretary said that it seemed like the battle was ending. However, the old man said it wouldn't be that easy. At that moment something appeared behind our guy. I thought he would react, but the idiot was just lifted up. The monster asked how Yenjin dared destroy him and said he would recover by devouring him. It rushed toward him saying it would drink all his blood, but our guy just summoned the black hole asking if the monster had that ability. An energy shot toward the green creature. It began to be pulled, wondering what was happening, and with that the poor thing was gone. Our guy collapsed to the ground exhausted. That left him completely drained. He had turned to the girls and said it was time for the three of them to deal with the boss. What the hell? When he turned around the two were dead. He found a letter on the ground where they thanked him for his protection. They wrote that they hoped he would survive but they prefer to die together rather than be torn apart. I think the author was too lazy to kill those two and the artist did the job. The problem now is that our guy believes there's no one left to start the challenge, but then he hears footsteps behind him. It's the old man and his armed secretary congratulating our guy and saying he truly deserves to be the new master of the Scarlet Base. That's when he realizes there were more people in that place after all, and worst of all, these two bastards are saints, the strongest ones from their base. In fact, the old man is the father of the current leader. If a story is correct, when he arrived at the base he killed a previous leader. Additionally, the girl named Shang Tian was always his lover and biggest fan. He then turns to the girl and says they need to be polite and go greet the young man controlling gravity. The two descend. The old man says that now that it's just the three of them, he's interested in forming an alliance to take down the boss together. Our guy says a partnership would be great as it would save him half the work. The old man smiles and tells him not to have high expectations, since he's already quite old. Yenjin realizes the old man is testing to see if he has any grudges against the people from the Heaven Base. The old man then thanks him saying that their only chance of surviving is cooperation, and our guy bow agreeing with him. Our guy then understands why the old man wants to befriend him, and seeing that our guy has no affiliation with the current leader, the old man already wants to make him a servant to help rise to the top. Then the system announces that all they have to do is say the word cooperation and the boss will appear. The three of them say cooperation. The system congratulates them and says they are now entering the next level. A storm brews in the skies. A lightning bolt strikes the Colosseum, hitting the poor girls who had taken their own lives. Everyone is confused by this, and then a black energy sphere welcomes everyone to the apocalypse. At that moment Shang Tian tells the old man to stay behind her, and the creature laughs, saying that the god of war would soon arrive, so they shouldn't be surprised. Yenjin seems to know something about that information, and suddenly the monster opened its mouth. Inside were the three people our guy had fought before. The monster descended in front of everyone. Yenjin told the others nearby that those were the guys he fought in the first round. The old man and the girl understood immediately, and the monster opened its mouth showing that the people that had just killed were inside too. With that it fired a laser. The ground. Here comes that damned green creature again, along with the suicidal couple and the crazy blonde guy. The creature then announces that the apocalypse escape has begun, and here comes that annoying couple that did nothing but get in the way. At that moment Shangan stretches out her hand and activates a gravity shift. The creatures seem to feel the pressure, and our guy, seeing this, already knows she has at least reached tier 5. The old man, a mind reader, says that many people from their base have already reached tier 5. Our guy asks how they can have so many 5th order potions when it's extremely expensive to buy one. However, he realizes the old man is just boasting to try and get him to join his plan. Ken then says it's a very simple secret and asks how our guy doesn't know why. He asked him to explain. There's something strange you notice since the apocalypse happened so quickly. How is it possible that the people from that base adapted so fast? At first he thought these people had some sort of supernatural ability or natural talent for surviving the apocalypse, but after experiencing the powers of the ring he suspects there's something more behind it all. The old man then says that since the boy is uninformed and now part of their group, he'll share some secrets. He explains that the truth is everything originated from a ring. At that moment our guy is shocked. The old man says that when the world fell into chaos and the government couldn't do anything, no one had anywhere to run, but just when all hope was lost, Lingen found a ring that helped them survive. Our guy asks how everyone got stronger, and if only Lingen got this ring. He's starting to realize that he's not the only one with a ring in this world. The old man then explains that some survivors from Jiguan City the voice of a god, which explained everything about killing zombies and communicating with trade posts. That's how Jiguan City managed to create many strong people who were prepared from the start. Additionally, it's a resource-rich place, which is how they developed here. I am ting this conversation, but where are the zombies? Is the girl still holding him with gravity? Our guy then questions if that voice wasn't strange, and the old man admits there was something odd. Most of the people who heard the voice mentioned it had a weird laugh. Hearing about that laugh made Yang Fin thoughtful. The first time he entered the challenge arena he remembers hearing something similar. The old man says it's expected that he heard it since he's so strong now. It's confirmed that there's some kind of secret group behind all of this and it's not a natural cause. At that moment the old man and the girl notice something, and in the same instant a zombie is about to strike the girl. She uses a grabby ball and pushes herself to the side. The monsters are all making senseless noises. Shang Tan comments that the creatures seem to have kept the same strength they had before dying. At that moment the strongest couple in this work rushes toward her. Let's see if these bastards can finally do something. Was she grabbed the secretary? Looks like her tastes haven't changed with death. Our guy is fighting another fool, saying he didn't expect their end to be like this, but first he have a deal with those two friends. However, the green guy is running toward the old man. The old man says he didn't want to dirty his hands, but it's a shame. He unleashes an explosion at the green guy. The guy tries to defend himself, but the poor thing is disintegrated. But at the same time 3 more were already coming from behind. The old man's weakness is that even though his attack is strong he can't use it repeatedly. Our guy quickly notices this, but at least sees relief that the strongest one was dealt with. Right at that moment the blonde girl comes in for a punch, and from the side her friend completes the attack, but nothing that the free fire barrier can't handle. He extends his hand and turns one of them into a weapon and cuts the poor girl in half. Now was time to deal with the second one, who was laughing like a lunatic. Our guy was confused by this and nearly got his hair cut off. The D girl he had killed had reconstituted herself. He doesn't know what's going on but cuts her in half again. But even cut the girl keeps coming. She throws a punch and he barely dodges it. Apparently they had a rare ability called symbiosis. In his past life he also fought something similar, but usually people with these abilities were quite weak. He never expected to face this again, especially now. She unleashes a JoJo-style beach, but he easily dodges it. The problem is dealing with 2 creatures that can't be killed. He pulls out the katana once more, saying maybe the secret is to cut both at the same time. If both die they won't be able to heal. But as soon as he approaches, the blonde pushes her friend aside. He slices one's neck, but realizes these damn girls are smart. Even his zombies, they still love each other. He dodges with a pole vault and says that since they want to play it that way he'll have to change tactics. He throws 2 giant daggers at them. At the same time he sends the shadow. The blonde was going to push her friend, but the shadow appeared behind her and finish her off. At the same time the other girl took a sword strike to the forehead once again. He says that if it had been him from 7 days ago, this would have been difficult, and now the first time he's going to try to extract the energy from a person's body. He wanted to steal that symbiotic power and at least put it in his shadow creatures. He then summons 2 MS and tells them to accept the energy. The power flies toward the 2 of them and they start glowing the purple energy, but our guy notices they seemed about to die, or rather what he sensed wasn't supernatural power. His soldiers advanced, and now he had a couple to summon. Not only did He pulled the essence of the power, but he also pulled their souls, and now they were serving him as if he were their master. Our guy just stretches out his hand and sends them underground. Now he's got incomplete solar leveling, being able to turn enemies into shadows. Meanwhile, the old man and the secretary are finishing off the remaining creatures shortly after they had already taken care of everything. The old man compliments our guy, saying that his ability seems quite interesting. However, Yanjin wonders why even with all the creatures dead the challenge hasn't ended. The little monster appears again, laughing and saying that they haven't reached the end yet. The old man asks what kind of disaster is coming now. The boss announces that once again they will face the strongest creature they've ever encountered in their lives. Anan is calm because the Sand Lord won't have any advantage in this place. The problem is what those two have already faced. And worse, why do they look so sad? Shang Tan says that if this is happening, Yang Fin will find out the truth. He just replies that they have no choice but to deal with it now. The guy just says it's coming. First up is the Lord of the Sand World. Man, there wasn't supposed to be sand, but the creature brought sand with its body. Apparently the second was a flaming Suzaku. Our guy already imagines that these two were the bosses that survived their previous round as well. The creature then says it's time for the third one. Something strange is flying toward them. The weird body explodes on the ground. It rises with a red eye and Yen is shocked. It was Yen Lu, the god of thunder, Yu's father. Man, our guy has just discovered that these bastards killed his friend Shang Tingon. Ask the old man what they're going to do and he says to wait and see the boy's reaction first. Yang Fin just looks at them. Our guy then says he understands that in the previous arena everyone had to kill each other, so it's not their fault they had to kill him, but he wants to know how they managed to defeat him. The old man explains that just like him, Yan also wanted points, so the two had no choice. The old man doesn't want to start a fight here, so he hopes Yanjin understand the situation. Our guy just turns and says he gets it, but the secretary says his reaction was anything but normal, and the old man immediately adds that he's sure the boy must be planning something, since they killed his friend. Our guy then says he'll take care of Yen Lu and they should handle the others. He activates his power and charges toward him, launching ice explosions. However, Yen Lu easily blocks them. He glares at Yang Fan and rushes at him. Yen Jin easily dodges the punch. Shang Tian wonders why he's doing that. The old man says it's probably the best choice he can make. There's no way he can defeat both of them and still handle these three creatures on his own, so that's why he wants to keep cooperating. However, he warns the secretary that at any moment Yang Fun will probably attack them, so they should be cautious. She says she'll keep an eye on him and it's a good thing he's fighting Yen Lu, since that will consume a lot of his energy. Yen dodges again, thinking he made a big mistake. Unfortunately, Yamal had to face the strongest boss from the Wheel of Heaven in the first round face to face. Yenjin says he knows this will make you sad, but he needs to finish him off. The creature charges screaming and punches straight into the shield, but as the smoke clears it notices something. Yenjin had activated a tornado and was starting to absorb its power. Yen Light prepares again and throws another punch at our guy, but at that moment his arm starts getting consumed. Our guy says he'll have to help him survive, but in another way, and with that he begins absorbing his body. YL is then pulled into the black hole. Yenjin turns to see if the others have handled their side. The phoenix was screaming, approaching the ground as the gravity girl easily brought it down. The old man that arrived beside her and delivered a punch straight to its head. Seeing that the old man looked a bit exhausted, she ran over and asked if he was okay. He said he was just a little fatigued and asked how Yang Fin was doing. At that moment our guy appears and says he's done. The old man is impressed that he won. Eel didn't have a single scratch on him. Apparently he showed no mercy to his old friend, which is dangerous, but in this situation the old man can't provoke the boy either. The orb congratulates everyone, saying they can finally leave this place. A gate appears at the back of the Colosseum. The three begin walking toward it, but they find it strange that they haven't received any rewards yet. At that moment a window appears. The secretary is shocked when she sees it. The message says they need to kill one of the other two to claim all the rewards they've received so far. They could all survive safely or eliminate one more person to take the prizes from this place. Seeing the two standing side by side, Yenjin already knows this won't end easily, and the worst part is being alone. He's sure the two will issue a challenge. However, unlike the message he received, they must choose someone to challenge. The secretary will challenge the old man, and she also doesn't want to do something like that to our guy. He's wondering if everyone got the same message he did, considering how everyone is eyeing each other. Yang Fin assumes this is the case. He can see that the old man seems to be harboring murderous intent, So it's clear he received a different message. However, maybe the best option would be for everyone to leave without causing any trouble, but of course the master of this world wouldn't be that kind. The old man then says they're all part of the same group and asks what message Yang Fun received. Our guy agrees but says he's at a disadvantage, so he like to know their message first. The gold man questions whether he really doesn't trust his friend while knowing that if he reveals his message he'll die. Yang Fun replies that calling him a friend is pushing it in a situation like this, fully aware that the old man intends to kill him. The problem is if he runs toward that door it will immediately show that his goal is just to escape. The old man then says that in that case he'll have to apologize for being a little cruel, and just like that he orders King Shang Tan to go after our guy. She stretches out her hand and activates her gravity control. Our boy gets slammed to the ground like a fool. The old man says that if someone can't be a friend they must be an enemy, and to avoid becoming an obstacle in the future that mean to get likes on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell and I'm out.